Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. After an overnight vote-a-rama, Senate Republicans approve a $70 billion immigration enforcement package. The bill would fund ICE and Border Patrol through President Trump's term and now heads to the House. The Senate fails to advance a bill renewing critical surveillance authorities set to expire in days. What's behind the standoff on Capitol Hill? Russian President Vladimir Putin rejects a request for a direct meeting with Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky. What Putin says about Zelensky's open letter. NASA orders 5 astronauts aboard the International Space Station to take shelter and prepare for evacuation. The order comes after onboard air leaks ramp up, but 2 hours later the order is lifted. Chinese and Hong Kong investors barred from investing in SpaceX, the latest move as the world anticipates the rocket company's massive IPO. President Trump announcing a massive rally, unveiling new monuments and showcasing restoration projects across Washington as the nation prepares to celebrate America's 250th birthday.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. The U.S. Embassy in Israel issues a security alert. It warns Americans across the Middle East to exercise caution amid what it calls the potential for hostilities in the region. The warning urges U.S. citizens to identify nearby shelters and closely monitor local conditions. It comes just one day after Iran launched a drone strike on Kuwait International Airport, killing 1 person and injuring dozens. The embassy says the security environment remains complex and can change quickly, with travel advisories already in place across much of the region. The alert also follows recent missile and drone activity reported by U.S. Central Command, underscoring rising tension and the risk of further escalation. U.S. Central Command says Iran did not fire warning shots at American ships. Iranian state media had reported that Iran's Navy fired warning missiles and drones at the warships in the Gulf of Oman. The dispute over whether Iran fired warning shots comes as shipping traffic remains heavily restricted in the Strait of Hormuz. CENTCOM added that the USS Tripoli was sailing in the Arabian Sea as the amphibious assault ship supports the ongoing U.S. blockade against Iran. CENTCOM says U.S. forces have redirected 129 commercial vessels and disabled 6 others. Meanwhile, U.S. Indo-Pacific Command says U.S. forces had intercepted a sanctioned vessel in the Indian Ocean overnight. The U.S. Indo-Pacific Command says U.S. forces intercepted a sanctioned stateless tanker in the Indian Ocean. The military said the overnight operation targeted the supertanker known as Davina. It was placed under U.S. sanctions in October 2024 for trading Iranian oil. Indo-Pacific Command says it will continue disrupting illegal networks and intercepting vessels that support Iran wherever they operate, adding, quote, international waters cannot be used as a shield by sanctioned actors. And it's been 100 days since the war with Iran began. President Trump says the U.S. will win either way. It's either going to be a military win or a paper win. Now, for the latest on Iran, joining us to discuss is Iranian-American entrepreneur Brian Taif, founder of We Are Cyprus. So, Brian, good afternoon to you. Thank you for being here with us. I just wanted to ask you, so the U.S., as you know, has been in a ceasefire with Iran for a number of weeks now, and still the Iranian regime does not come up with the deal. So, I mean, in your mind, at this point, which scenario is more likely, a military win or a paper win for the U.S.?
Good to be with you, Don. I think the problem at hand is we're dealing with a regime that doesn't want a deal, because if we do get a deal, we're going to end up same place that we were with President Barack Obama. It's a deal that they're not going to hold up their end of the bargain, and it's a temporary deal. So I think the situation that they're trying to do is to run the clock to as much as possible closer to the midterm elections in the U.S., hoping for different results in November and who they deal with in the United States side.
Do you think Iran, given its current situation, economically speaking, does it have the ability to withstand this period of time? We're talking months here. Does it have the ability to survive that long?
I believe so. This regime was designed for moments like this. That's why you see different layers within this regime that we are dealing with right now. So the way that the government is set up for exactly like situations like this, and then force the United States to be forced into urban warfare situations like we were in Iraq, for example. So they're trying to run the clock or either push us to the point that we have to put more casualty on the American side. So they're trying to do that, in my view.
Okay, so if they're trying to run out the clock, is it correct for me to assume, you can correct me, that they don't have an incentive to sign a deal with the U.S.?
You're absolutely right, Don. They don't, and they have one goal. And that one goal is the destruction of the United States and Israel. And the nuclear capable Islamic Republic allows them to achieve that goal. So making a deal is nothing that they want to do. The end goal that they have for the Islamic Republic and that country is very visible. They openly talked about it for 47 years. I don't see any scenario that this regime in Iran would put down its arms when it comes to their enrichment abilities and the missile abilities that we recently just discovered how far advanced it has gotten.
Okay, so if it doesn't want to sign a deal, the U.S. is requesting no nuclear weapons, the opening of the Strait of Hormuz, and no nuclear dust within Iran. That's enriched uranium. So if these are the terms and Iran does not want to agree to these terms, how does the U.S. force Iran to do this? So if we use the analogy that this is a chess game, how do we put Iran in a checkmate state that they don't have any other choice but to surrender and agree to the terms?
That's $1 million question. I don't think we are there yet, but I'll see exactly the game plan that President Trump is implementing in this situation. Typically, Americans are used to seeing this kind of situations escalate quickly to a more of a bigger military operations such as ground invasions. But President Trump is playing the long game as well, in my view. We are choking the regime financially. They are alienated in their neighborhood. The Gulf countries, which are Muslim countries, are not associated with them anymore. So they alienated in their own region and the world. They cannot go outside of the Iran in peace. Their airspace is closed. They can only contain that environment for the Iranian people for so long before their backs start to break from the inside of the Iran. And ultimately, I think that's what we need to focus on a lot more. Senator Cruz spoke about arming the Iranian people. President Trump has thrown the idea out there. This regime ultimately would fall by the hand of the Iranian people. The other alternative is putting ground boots on the ground of American troops. And I think the President Trump is approaching that very cautiously. I served under President Trump in the National Guard while I was serving in the Army. And one thing that's very evident about him is how much he cares about our soldiers. We don't want this situation to turn up to be a lot of flags, wrapped caskets coming to the United States. So we need to approach this with caution. And I think President Trump is doing that maximum pressure campaign on this regime. We eliminated most of their leadership. So this is just a matter of time. But I think we're going to get there. It just might be a little bit slower than everybody expected it to be.
I think you're right about the point of arming the Iranian people, because as we've seen with the protests in the previous months, how many people really want some kind of change to this government, this regime, right? But the question is, how do we arm the people? Because there have been reports that when we send weapons to the Iranian people, third parties take away, confiscate those weapons. So how do we get it into the hands of the Iranian people that want change?
Well, the tactics that were used was leveraging the relationships that we have with the Kurds. And the Kurds have their own intention in that region, and they have their own goals that they have set for themselves. So the way that I would suggest approaching this is using the intel world, using the agencies like the CIA and our allies like Mossad, who have access to inside of Iran. If we can get the weapons inside of the Iran territory, we can hand those out to people. But if we just hand it to people outside of Iran, assuming that they're going to get inside of the border, that's something that's going to be a hit or miss. And one thing about the Islamic Republic, they are guarding the Iranian border heavily, especially on the side of Iraq and Afghanistan, where they know we could be coming in through those borders. So the challenge is there. But I have full faith in our intel communities that they have channels that they can get things into Iran and in the hands of the right people.
So earlier you said the Iranian regime, the system is designed for situations like this. And you also mentioned that the U.S. is putting economic pressure on Iran. My question is it even possible, because the Iranian regime is losing millions of dollars per day, or hundreds of millions rather, per day, economically speaking, is that ever going to impact the daily lives of regime leaders? Because as you said, it's designed to withstand this.
Absolutely. We are seeing the cracks on the wall right now as we speak. Even inside of Iran, those pressures have been building for months, since the last June when we struck them first. But the bigger pressure on the Islamic Republic is the leadership and where their families reside. A lot of the leadership inside of Iran who claim that the Islamic Republic is a great country, the families live abroad. They live in the United States and they live in Europe. And the State Department, Secretary of State Marco Rubio has done great at identifying where these people are at and putting pressure on them. So by putting pressure on the families of elected officials inside of Iran, we are putting pressures on them as well. So the way that this government functions is by paying their way through everything. All the terror proxies that they support and sponsor is done through money. All the people that are loyal to him, not all of them, but majority of them, I would say 80% of the people that work for the Islamic Republic are doing it for the sake of the money. So if we manage to suffocate them financially, as we have done in the UAE, we have done that in Qatar. So those steps are into place. And whenever the money dries up, their support will dry up as well inside of Iran and outside of Iran.
So, what I find kind of incredible is that, Iran as a country has suffered so much devastation from this war, whether we're talking about economically, militarily. The regime still refuses to surrender. You mentioned earlier it has no incentive to sign a deal with the U.S. I mean, if it was any other country, as we've seen in history throughout the wars, any other country, they would have long surrendered before this point. So, I mean, can you talk to us about this? Why does it seem like the Iranian regime is defying logic in this war?
That's a great question, Don. My personal view on this matter is that this regime does not have a place that they can run to. When Bashar Assad left, when his government fell, Bashar Assad left along with his family. Syria was a smaller country than Iran, and the Islamic Republic has exported terror all around the globe. Their allies, such as Russia and China, they don't want them. China has 2 million people 2 million Muslims in concentration camps in its territory, but it's allies of the Islamic Republic, and they would not even accept them. So if this regime falls, for example, we have to consider, where are these people going to go? They don't have any place to go. So because of that, that's their last standing ground. The other alternative is end up in jail or go into a trial and have even a worse outcome for themselves. So we have to realize, where would these people go if they fall? If they come into an agreement, that's another situation that in the world stage that they have proven at that point, they're not strong enough to deal with the United States of the world, the Israels of the world. And at that point, they lose the respect that they have inside of the country within their own followers. Just at the beginning of this year in January, millions of Iranians were in the streets voicing their opposition to this evil regime, and they were slaughtered by the tens of thousands. So they know, if the first moment comes that they do come to agreement with the United States and they accept no more nuclear enrichment, no more advancing our missile program, at that moment, the people inside of Iran would become brave and they would step up once again, and their life would be over from that point. So either they bend the knee and sign a deal, and the Iranian people inside of Iran would end that regime, or they just sit there and fight it till the end, which is something with inside of Iran, the state media. I'm from there, so I speak Farsi. I listen to their TV all the time. They say this over and over. If this regime falls, we are not handing the same Iran as the former Shah did in 1979. They openly say that they would destroy the Iranian country, their infrastructure, everything that he has, if they're going to fall. If there's no Islamic Republic in Iran, they want nothing to be there. So understanding their mentality, I think, is the biggest obstacle that we have to do on the West.
Wow, that is very radical, and it's a huge insight that you just gave us into the minds of how these leaders work. But I also wanted to ask you about your organization. And I apologize, I said it wrong earlier. It's We Are Cyrus. That's your organization. So it's officially launching nationally as a grassroots movement. Can you just tell us more about your organization?
Yeah, absolutely. I went to CPAC this year, and I've seen something at CPAC that I've never seen in any political environment in my 10, 15 years in politics in the US. There were thousands of Iranian Americans that showed up to CPAC, holding American flags, holding the Lion and Sun flag. And granted, they were there because Reza Pahlavi, the figure that is leading the opposition for the Iranian people in their pursuit of freedom, was speaking at CPAC. So when I saw that at first, I was like, okay, those are my people. I love it. Then immediately my second thought was, I know the voter participation of my community. How can we capture this excitement? How can we capture this sense of belonging in the United States for them to leave their jobs for a few days, travel all from the United States to come to CPAC and be part of the American democratic system? So we got together with a bunch of great Iranian American patriots, and we formed an organization called We Are Cyrus, so we can mobilize the Iranian American community that has a less than 4% voter participation. We have identified about 1 million Iranian Americans who are qualified to vote in the United States, and we set a goal for ourselves. We will try our best to get every 1 million of them registered to vote and showing up in November, supporting the candidates who are standing with them, supporting President Trump so he can continue his agenda, being strong for the United States, being strong for the world. Because I'm a conservative myself. There was a reason I was at CPAC. I go there often and I attend other events. We all know on the conservative side what would happen if, God forbid, come November, we lose the midterm election. The same witch hunts, the same impeachment process would start all over again. And when we have the nations like the Islamic Republic who are at their weakest points in their existence, and we hand the government back to the Democrats who have been historically so easy on this evil regime and on our other adversaries as well, like China and Russia, we need a strong leadership in Congress, Senate, and White House to put America back in a strong place so we can call ourselves great again. And we can finish our adversaries once and for all. That way we don't have to play this whack-a-mole with the regimes like the Islamic Republic every few years. So the Iranian Americans are one of the most successful communities in the United States. Doctors, lawyers, engineers. But at the same time, we have a 4% voter participation. So our goal is to organize, and we have done that. We're already in 24 states right now. Our goal is to reach 30 states and just focus that for the next 5 or 6 months. Our goal is to register every Iranian American and make sure they're first one during the early voting at the polling booths.
Yeah, I really respect that. Appreciate the work you're doing right now. Thank you so much for speaking with us today. It's been nice to meet you and a great conversation.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate you. God bless.
Senate Republicans pushed through a $70 billion immigration enforcement package after an overnight marathon vote. The measure now moves to the House. More news after this break.
Getting prescription glasses from Select Specs is easier than you might think. Select your frames from our £6 range in-house brands or our extensive designer collections. Then enter, upload or email your latest prescription and our website will analyze it and help you select the best lenses and options to suit you. Click to place the order and your new Select Specs glasses are delivered right to your door. Ordering your prescription glasses is as easy as 1, 2, C with Select Specs and selectspecs.com.
Is deep-sea fish oil really healthy? Due to pollution in the oceans, most fish contain heavy metal elements and radioactive substances. That's why it's so important to choose a pure source of omega-3. Puritan Green Vegetable Omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds, which are rich in nutrients and minerals. It effectively improves brain power and is beneficial to the heart's health. Puritan Green Vegetable Omega-3. Eat 2 a day and you'll feel brand new.
There's cultures that have been lost, but this culture hasn't been. The artist is showing us our sense of who we are, where we came from. You look at his hat. His hat is knitted probably by a man, because a man traditionally knitted the hats. That hat tells you the story of who this person is, what his place in the culture is, the animals around him. Everything's all contained in the messages in the hat. And the tool that he's carrying over his shoulder. This is a centuries-old tool that has been able to rework the mountains. Those traditions are invaluable, and if we don't honor those traditions, then we're rootless. The artist is showing us the value of maintaining our culture and respecting our culture.
The Senate passes a $70 billion immigration enforcement package after an overnight vote-a-rama on Capitol Hill. The bill funds ICE and Border Patrol through the remainder of President Trump's second term and now heads to the House.
On this vote, the yeas are 52, the nays are 47. This bill, as amended, is passed.
Senator Lisa Murkowski was the only Republican to vote against the measure. After 18 hours of voting, Republicans rejected over 24 amendments from Democrats, including one targeting a proposed Justice Department anti-weaponization fund and another aimed at blocking construction of the White House ballroom. The legislation follows months of partisan clashes over immigration enforcement and Homeland Security funding. The bill was passed through reconciliation, a process that allows for a simple majority, meaning no support from Democrats was needed to pass in the Senate. A push to prevent unlawful employment of illegal immigrants. The Treasury Department is asking financial institutions to detect and report such activities. The department says hiring people without work authorization can make employers gain an unfair advantage over legitimate businesses, depress wages, facilitate identity theft, and steal tax revenue. It says unlawful wages can also be used to finance transnational criminal organizations. The Treasury is asking banks to be vigilant against schemes to pay unlawful workers. The advisory today lists several red flags, such as individuals and companies in the agriculture, construction, domestic service, and hospitality industries registering using foreign ID. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says, quote, "This administration will not allow illegal aliens to abuse financial institutions to steal billions of dollars from hardworking American taxpayers." The Coast Guard says it helped prevent a potential tragedy at sea after intercepting an overcrowded migrant boat carrying 240 people near the Kirks and Caicos Islands. Authorities say the vessel was packed with migrants who identified themselves as Haitian citizens. The boat was taking on water and in danger of sinking when it was spotted. More than 140 Coast Guard, Customs and Border Protection and local personnel took part in the operation. Officials say the operation prevented what could have been a catastrophic loss of life. The Department of Homeland Security is also warning that migrants who attempt to enter the United States illegally by sea will not be allowed into the country, saying illegal maritime migration is dangerous and not worth the risk. The Senate early today blocking a motion to begin a debate on extending foreign surveillance powers set to expire next week. Lawmakers are clashing over President Trump's appointment of Bill Pulte as acting director of national intelligence. The vote failed 47-52, with nearly all Democrats opposed and 7 Republicans joining them. Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act is set to expire June 12th unless Congress acts. Democrats say they cannot support reauthorization while questioning Pulte's qualifications. Republicans warn that failure to advance the bill risks allowing critical surveillance authorities to lapse, saying the program could go dark within days if no agreement is reached. President Trump says William Pulte will not remain in the job of acting director of national intelligence, confirming the post is temporary. The president says candidates are being interviewed and a new intelligence chief will be named soon.
Well, he's very smart. He's a person who's got high integrity. He's done a phenomenal job at Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. You probably have $1 trillion in value there. And it's an acting position. It's not a permanent. He's not going to be permanent because, I don't think he'd want to be permanent.
Pulte currently leads the Federal Housing Finance Agency. He was tapped to fill in after Tulsi Gabbard's resignation, which takes effect on June 30th. Some critics have raised concerns about his lack of intelligence experience. President Trump has praised his management background. Senate Republicans failed to advance the Save America Act, a Trump-backed election bill focused on voter identification and proof of citizenship requirements. The legislation falling short after 4 Republicans joined Democrats in opposing the measure, despite calls from fellow senators about the bill's urgency.
Every country in the entire world, countries you're familiar with, countries you're not, countries as wide-ranging as Mexico, Brazil, India, Argentina, Peru, Botswana, Burundi, they all have voter ID requirements. We do not. We do not want to leave this amount of power sitting on the table so that foreign powers can send forth people who are not eligible to vote in this country and vote anyway. We need to do this. The House of Representatives has passed the Save America Act. We now have the opportunity to vote on that same bill.
The measure failing on a 48-50 vote, with 60 votes needed to pass in the Senate. Republican Senators Tom Tillis, Lisa Murkowski, Mitch McConnell, and Susan Collins joined Democrats in voting against the proposal. The Save America Act would have required photo ID to vote and proof of citizenship to register to vote in federal elections. President Trump strongly backing the legislation. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill sound the alarm on the Chinese regime's growing threat inside America, from silencing critics to flooding our streets with fentanyl. NTD's Washington correspondent Jack Bradley has more.
Even though I was on the land of the free, I am not free.
On the 37th anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre in Beijing, lawmakers on Capitol Hill examining the threats the Chinese regime poses inside America today.
China is the world's worst perpetrator of transnational repression.
Stealing from U.S. citizens, fentanyl poisoning of our cities and our young people, PRC-linked land purchases near military installations, effort to corrupt politicians and elections.
The bipartisan Congressional Executive Commission on China looking at the Chinese Communist Party's efforts to silence its critics in the U.S.
As a father, I was terrified for the safety of Alisa when she goes to Beijing to compete for the United States of America.
Arthur Liu, the father of Olympic gold medalist Alyssa Liu, came to the U.S. as a political refugee in 1989, just after the Tiananmen Square massacre. While living in San Francisco, his family was targeted by agents working for the Chinese regime. That's after his daughter Alyssa posted news on social media about China's human rights violations.
I guess the Chinese government never forgot about that.
This led him to take extra precautions when his daughter went to the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing.
Additional security for Alisa. When she was in Beijing, she was accompanied at all times by 2 adults from venues to venues throughout the Olympic Games.
The Hong Kong government, which is handpicked by the Chinese Communist Party, placed a bounty on dissident Anna Kwok after she testified in Congress in 2023 on the fall of democracy in Hong Kong, freezing her assets, revoking her passport, and just last month, arresting her 70-year-old father.
The CCP weaponized my love for my family in an attempt to silence me forever.
Over at the House Foreign Affairs Committee, lawmakers examining China's role in the fentanyl crisis.
The deadly supply chain starts and is engineered in China.
China is the world's primary source of fentanyl precursor chemicals, which are mainly sent to Mexican cartels to process them into the U.S. Drug overdoses, mainly caused by fentanyl, is the #1 cause of death for Americans aged 18 to 45, killing around 70,000 every year. And many of the victims are unaware that the drug they're taking is laced with a lethal dose of fentanyl.
Never did I imagine that one of these policy challenges would strike my own family so directly.
Steve Yates is a father of a fentanyl poisoning victim.
Our daughter, Christina Marie, was just shy of her 25th birthday when she ingested an off-market Xanax laced with fentanyl.
Saying that China, being an authoritarian state, will be able to crack down on this, but chooses not to. That's as the House Select Committee on the CCP found in a recent report that the CCP was subsidizing the manufacture and export of these fentanyl chemicals.
When you have the actual government writing code that gives tax rebates to the companies that are involved in something that is illegal in China and illegal to export, it gets back to that fundamental question: are you negotiating with a government counterpart in good faith? And my answer is no.
These hearings highlight bipartisan concern over the Chinese regime's activities in the U.S., from silencing dissent to causing the deadliest drug epidemic in American history. For NTD News Washington, I'm Jack Bradley.
The U.S. economy defying expectations once again. How 500,000 jobs were quietly added to the books and what that means for your interest rates. We have more news after this break. Don't go away.
I don't remember how it started. Our back and forth. Victory. Fumble. Repeat. It always came back.
Okay, here we go, throw it! Yeah.
You probably don't remember what you told me.
That was perfect.
But I heard every word.
Nice.
Every day, thousands of kids start vaping. And I can't let this happen to my kid. Of course, it's awkward to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping. Hey, bestie, how's sketches? Ready? It's hard to get their attention. Ready? Go. Yes, look at that. You even turn yours over. So if you want to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping, you have to get it trending. Right, Backpack Kid?
Let's do it.
First, invite your kid to do the vape talk. Let's try this. All right.
Why is he here?
Yeah, I gotta get it trending, honey.
Come on.
To the left. To the right. Let's go.
Oh, honey, can we talk?
Yeah, what's up?
I see a lot of your friends vaping.
Visit talkaboutVaping.org for tips on when and how to have the vape talk.
The U.S. labor market continues to show strength in May. New data revealing that hiring remained solid heading into the summer. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says the economy added 172,000 jobs last month. That's well above economists' expectations of about 85,000. The unemployment rate held steady at 4.3%, matching forecasts. The latest report suggests the labor market remains resilient despite broader economic uncertainty, with steady job creation helping support overall growth. National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett responding to the data.
The supply side policies of President Trump, from deregulation to the big beautiful bill to no tax on overtime, that it's having a big positive supply side effect, and that's something that keeps surprising Wall Street economists over and over. I think that what we're seeing right now is a revival of the world where the U.S. is the engine of global growth. And I'll be flying with the president to the G7 meetings in France in a couple of weeks. And that's going to be one of our key messages, is that if you look at the things that we're doing, we're getting jobs numbers that surprise on the upside over and over again. You should copy those things, because we want you to be as prosperous as we are. But I think what you're seeing is that when the U.S. booms, it's great for the global economy.
And joining us to talk about the jobs report is Joseph Trevisani, economic and currency analyst at FX Street. Joseph, good to see you here today. How are you doing?
Pretty good, Don. How are you? Things are nice uptown here?
Yeah, it's pretty nice. Do you enjoy the warmer weather or the cooler weather?
I personally prefer the cooler weather, but in the summertime, I'm conservative about it, and I want to have at least some warm weather so that you can go outside and enjoy it.
Yeah, it's easier to do something about it when it's cold, but not as easy when it's hot. Speaking of hot, though, the jobs report smashing expectations, right? Almost double. So, I mean,
Yeah.
coupled with previous months, the payrolls being revised upward, it looks like the labor market was stronger than previously reported. What is your take on today's jobs report?
That's absolutely correct. I mean, the 3-month average right now is 188,000, and that are the best 3 months since the first quarter of 2024, when it was 2003. So despite all of the worries from last year that the tariff program that President Trump started, and inflation and all the other things that were weighing on economic analyst concerns, the job market is purring right along. These are very good numbers.
So as we heard from the economic advisor, Kevin Hassett, earlier, right before you came on, he attributed to these numbers to the supply side policies of President Trump. He talked about deregulation, the big, beautiful bill, no tax on tips, overtime. So what do you say to that? Do you think this is the main reason or a big reason for job growth?
I do, because remember, what we've been looking at for the past 2 years has been an economy that where the fundamentals are being addressed, that things are changing in the underlying ability of the economy to grow and the underlying desire of the economy to grow. And those things seem to be bearing fruit right here. It is hard to argue with the facts. The jobs are doing very well. They are coming from now. They've been a kind of a standard improvement in jobs. I mean, it was led by healthcare, which is not unusual. It's been very much true. Nonetheless, the arguments that the administration is making, that their economic policies are bearing fruit, including deregulation, and you can include the tariff policy and trying to bring manufacturing jobs back to the states, are bearing fruit. It's hard to argue with the facts. They appear to be doing so.
Okay, so here's what I'm wondering. So we're seeing 3 consecutive months in a row where the jobs numbers were a surprise on the upside. So over and over again, why do you think Wall Street economists keep getting surprised during this administration?
That's a tricky question. I think that what you're looking at are assumptions that are built into various economic models, where they use historical levels to compare what's happening. So if you look right now and you say, well, inflation is going up. Inflation, both core is pretty stable, actually, but overall inflation is growing up. This will undoubtedly have an effect on consumer purchases. When? We don't know. Has it had an effect so far? No. But what is the longer run effect of that? Well, the longer run effect will be that consumers pull back, they stop buying, and therefore you get lower job numbers as firms cut back on production and cut back on jobs. So that's where the assumptions come from. But if you're looking at what we spoke about earlier, that things are changing underneath that, some of the assumptions in the economy are changing, then those old standards.
Okay, so Joseph, you got cut out for a moment. I didn't realize when you stopped talking. So now I see that you're back. You have finished your response. So what do you think? Why is there such a? Would you say there is a disconnect between?
I think economic models are slow to change. And when you use a standard economic model, say that was based on how fast the economy is growing. If it's growing at 1.6%, you're going to get this many jobs. If it's growing at 8%, you're going to get this many jobs. If it's growing at 0.8%, you get these many jobs. When you use that standard assumption, the number of jobs predicted, 80,000, is not out of the ballpark. However, if, as we said earlier, that the underlying factors, some of the underlying factors in the economy are changing, then those assumptions are no longer going to be correct. And the numbers produced underneath or by those assumptions are no longer going to be correct. And I think that's part of what we're seeing here.
Okay, so if we dig deeper in today's jobs report, what are your thoughts on the fact that major gains were concentrated in services and government? So that's plus 70,000, plus 55,000 respectively. The question is, these jobs don't produce tangible goods like cars or semiconductors, right, for example. So what are your thoughts on whether this economy ultimately needs to produce real goods to be healthy and the overall situation that we're in?
That's a good point. And, it's been one of the points of the Trump administration from the very beginning, even going back to the prior administration. And I accept and I approve of the logic of that, because you cannot have an economy that, in my opinion, you cannot have an economy that runs simply on monetary exchange, on financial goods, on services. If you do not produce the goods that are the mainstay both of the economy and of your defense industries, your defense posture, your military, it is very difficult to maintain your position in the world. And so I think the idea of bringing, if we can, and
Okay, you were cut out again, so I didn't know when you stopped talking.
I apologize. I don't know what's going on. We're on wireless here in the house, and the wireless has always been fine. We've done this many times before, so I can't tell you exactly what's going on, and I'm certainly not going to get up and reboot the server right now.
It's all right. It's all right. I only had one more question anyway. So I wanted your thoughts on the overall economy. Where do you think we are right now, the health of the economy, and why does it seem like there's a difference between the reported data of consumer confidence and actual consumer spending in the real world?
That is one of the most interesting things going on in economics right now, and in economic statistics right now. The last number in the Michigan Consumer Sentiment was the lowest in its 74-year history. This actually makes almost no sense when you compare it to the state of the economy, the state of the jobs. When you compare it to consumer spending, it makes no sense at all that it should be at a historic low, 44.8, I think it was, or 44.9 in the last month. Consumer confidence in the Michigan survey has been falling almost steadily since March of 2020. I think we all remember what that month was, when I believe the number was about 99 or 99.6. So there is a real disconnect here between what consumers are, not just what they're saying, which they're, of course, telling the Michigan people, but what they're doing. And it's my idea, and this is not original to myself, that what you're seeing is a different reflection of the degree of economic news that you hear out in the world. Right now, you look at economics, you get economic news how many times a day on your phone? You update it 50 times a day. You look at it. If it bleeds, the old line from newspaper headlines, if it bleeds, it leads. So you tend to get a lot more negative economic news, and that seems to be affecting consumers' attitudes irrespective of what they actually do and spend.
Yeah, it seems like they're feeling one thing, but they're doing another. Joseph, it's been good to speak with you. Yeah, it's been good to speak with you today. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure. Have a good day.
President Trump unveils plans for a major Washington transformation, from a restored reflecting pool to a new military monument and a rally celebrating America's 250th birthday. More news after this. Don't go away.
According to ancient Chinese medicine, purslane is considered a medicinal herb and is used to help lower cholesterol, improve vascular functions, and prevent diabetes. Perilla seeds can nourish the lungs and spleen. It is used to treat asthma and improve pulmonary functions. Puritang green vegetable omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds from Hwangmae Mountain in South Korea. It contains over 90% of omega-3, 6, 7, and 9, the highest concentration possible without chemical additives. The soft gel is made of natural seaweed. It is 100% organic and vegan. Both adults and children can take it with peace of mind. Ancient recipes were passed down from heaven to bring prosperity and longevity. Puritang green vegetable omega-3.
Russian President Vladimir Putin today responding to an open letter from Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky. Zelensky is requesting a direct meeting with Putin, suggesting the U.S. is too busy with the Iran war to negotiate peace between Russia and Ukraine. NTD's international correspondent Arian Pasdar has the latest on Russia-Ukraine.
I think it would be great if they met. They should get it done.
President Trump on Thursday saying he supports a meeting between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Russia's Vladimir Putin. Zelensky sent a lengthy open letter to Putin this week, just shortly after Ukraine bombed St. Petersburg during a major economic forum. Zelensky started the letter by saying that many Ukrainians liked Putin when he first came into power over 20 years ago. But then he went on to state that now the overwhelming majority of Ukrainians view it positively that our long-range drones paid a visit to the opening of your forum in St. Petersburg. Zelensky went on to suggest that Ukraine could launch more such attacks, while adding that Russia's resources are shrinking. That's partly why he's now proposing to hold direct talks, adding that we see that the United States is fully focused on the issue of Iran, and it would be wrong to simply wait until the war in Europe returns to the center of its attention. Putin responded on Friday, saying he sees no reason to meet with Zelensky at this time. The Kremlin leader added that he doesn't think Zelensky is actually seeking a meeting, saying the letter is more offensive than it is genuine. Before the news of the letter broke, Putin said this:
The proposals put forward by President Trump, as I have already said, could well be the basis of a peace settlement.
But it's not clear what proposals Putin is talking about.
What were the compromises that you asked?
Well, I'd rather not say, because Peter asked me. I think it was meant as a little wise guy question, but I'm not sure. But I'm very responsible when that happens. It's going to happen. They're going to both make compromises. I suggested those compromises.
The president didn't comment on the allegations that the U.S. is too busy with Iran to broker peace in Ukraine. Arian Pasdar, NTD News.
The Justice Department says that construction of a $400 million White House ballroom is too far along to be paused. A DOJ lawyer telling appellate judges that the courts have no authority to rule on the project. The National Trust for Historic Preservation sued last year after the Trump administration tore down the East Wing in October 2025 without seeking authorization from Congress. Today, a lawyer for the preservation group told the court that the government was entirely wrong, urging the judges to halt construction and allow Congress to weigh in. A district judge has blocked above-ground construction twice, while allowing underground work to continue. 7 astronauts aboard the International Space Station were ordered earlier today to take shelter and prepare for evacuation. The order came due to a worsening air leak, but the order was lifted after roughly 2 hours.
So it was all done out of an abundance of caution. It looks like Russia then have looked at the work site and decided not to proceed for now. So the crew have all gone back to their day-to-day operations, which is fantastic news.
The 4 astronauts of NASA's Crew 12 mission are aboard the station, 2 Americans, a French astronaut, and a Russian cosmonaut, along with another U.S. astronaut and 2 cosmonauts. The station's 2 primary operators, NASA and Russia's space agency Roscosmos, have been aware of small air leaks for months, but one detected today had doubled in size. Some Russian crew members wanted to take action to seal the leak, but NASA officials disagreed with the method, prompting the order to follow safe haven procedures. The order was lifted once cosmonauts or Roscosmos paused its efforts to repair the crack. President Trump says Washington is being transformed ahead of America's 250th birthday celebration, with new restoration projects, military monuments, and a massive rally planned for later this month. The president promoting a patriotic revival of the nation's capital. Take a look.
Here's another one.
President Trump announcing plans for what he calls the greatest rally ever on June 24th in Washington, D.C., as part of celebrations marking America's 250th anniversary. The president says the event will feature patriotic music, military bands, and performances by Lee Greenwood and Christopher Macchio. The president also promoting a series of restoration and construction projects across the Capitol, including repairs to fountains and the Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool.
And we have it finished. The water is pouring in as we speak. And maybe we'll show that what it looks like, because I'm sure the fake news will be thrilled.
President Trump thanking the workers who fixed and rebuilt the pool, calling them our great warriors. Some Washington residents welcoming the restoration work.
It's a lovely place to come during the day. I'm glad that they put the work into doing this. I also think, there's a lot of other stuff that needs funding that probably could benefit from it besides just making parks beautiful. So I hope that gets done as well.
The White House and the Interior Department have highlighted dozens of restoration projects ahead of next year's celebrations. The president touting plans for a new triumphal arch and expanded military memorials near the National Mall.
The National Garden of American Heroes is going to be unbelievable, and this is an arc that's a real bow, a beautiful bow to your military and military victories.
President Trump also discussing plans for a new promenade.
They want to call it the Trump Promenade, but I don't know if I want to do that. But it's going to be beautiful. It's a beautiful project, and it's going to take the Lincoln Memorial right down to the Potomac, which it was always scheduled to do, but when they built the roads, that was the end of that.
Interior Secretary Doug Burgum saying the projects are intended to complete a long-standing vision for the Capitol ahead of the nation's milestone anniversary.
These projects would complete the original vision, the Macmillan Plan, and how fortunate are we to have the builder-in-chief, someone who both has the vision and the understanding of how to get projects done.
A 30-day countdown is now underway to July 4th.
President Trump is on his way to Wisconsin for his first trip to the state since his re-election. He will be sitting down with farmers in Chippewa Falls for an agricultural roundtable. It follows Trump's Great American Agriculture celebration at the White House in March. That event saw the largest gathering of farmers ever hosted at the White House. And today, the president is taking that message directly to the heartland, touting lower input costs, new trade markets, less red tape, and new rural opportunity zones for Wisconsin farmers. And coming up after the break, the U.S. Embassy in Israel warning Americans across the Middle East to stay vigilant amid what it calls the potential for hostilities. Stay tuned for more news after this quick break.
This is an urgent appeal from Save the Children.
I saw war, bombing, shooting. I'm worried for my future.
Чую вибухи. Не знаю. І не ходжу в школу.
Conflict is raging across the world, and millions of children's lives are being devastated by war, hunger, to givetosave.org to help save lives.
For the first time ever, we're bringing you MyPillow mattresses and mattress toppers for as low as $99.98. Remember, sleep's all about temperature and pressure points. Whatever sleep needs you have, we have the right technology for you. Like our MyPillow mattress topper, our queen size has over 10,000 individual comfort supports to help relieve your pressure points. And how about our 3-inch Hybrid Plus mattress topper? It's infused with copper and silver to help your body get the restorative sleep it needs. And our MyPillow and Case Coil mattresses, I personally helped develop these mattresses to make sure they have everything needed to give us great sleep. Plus, they're made right here in the USA, and they ship right to your front door, absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to get MyPillow mattresses and toppers for as low as $99.98 and free shipping.
There are real consequences to controlled media. And NTD's founders know them firsthand. Our freedom of thought is the price. This is the lesson that guides us in everything we do.
So there's the tear gas there.
We know the value of a free society. And we take seriously the responsibility to preserve it. We are NTD.
This is such a gentle painting, so beautifully portrayed.
A group of people reading together in this simple, everyday-looking living room. A young girl reading along with an adult, a grandparent sitting in the lotus position, a businessman in his typical suit.
You see all those people, they look like they have quietly settled down there. And you as a viewer, it looks like you've just stepped in the door.
You can't see what it is they're reading, so you're a little bit curious and you're kind of invited to walk in.
This harmonious feeling is not by accident. It is the very subject of the work. The book they are reading is the main text of Falun Gong, which is an ancient Chinese spiritual discipline in the Buddhist tradition. At the core of Falun Gong are the values of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. Unfortunately, the practice is banned in China, where the artist resides. Thousands have been killed for their faith. Golden energy blooms into the room as a result of their steadfast faith. The painting on the back wall reminds us of this work's title, Plum Blossoms in a Muddy World.
The 8th NTD International Piano Competition welcomes distinguished pianists from around the world, celebrating the depth, discipline, and expressive power of the Baroque, classical, and romantic repertoire. September 1st through the 5th, 2026, New York City. Apply at piano.ntdtv.com, honoring the timeless tradition of the piano. According to ancient Chinese medicine, purslane is considered a medicinal herb and is used to help lower cholesterol, improve vascular functions, and prevent diabetes. Perilla seeds can nourish the lungs and spleen. It is used to treat asthma and improve pulmonary functions. Puritang green vegetable omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds from Hwangmae Mountain in South Korea. It contains over 90% of omega-3, 6, 7, and 9, the highest concentration possible without chemical additives. The soft gel is made of natural seaweed. It is 100% organic and vegan. Both adults and children can take it with peace of mind. Ancient recipes were passed down from heaven to bring prosperity and longevity. Puritan Green Vegetable Omega-3.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. A hot labor market. Today's jobs report much stronger than expected. What the White House says is driving the growth, and what's President Trump's message on potential interest rate cuts. After an overnight vote-a-rama, Senate Republicans approve a $70 billion immigration enforcement package. The bill would fund ICE and Border Patrol through President Trump's term. It now heads to the House. A new warning tonight for Americans in the Middle East. The U.S. Embassy in Israel issuing a security alert and urging citizens to stay alert. Russian President Vladimir Putin rejects a request for a direct meeting with Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky. What Putin says about Zelensky's open letter. NASA orders 5 astronauts aboard the International Space Station to take shelter and prepare for evacuation. The order comes after onboard air leaks ramp up, but 2 hours later, the order is lifted. Chinese and Hong Kong investors barred from investing in SpaceX, the latest move as the world anticipates the rocket company's massive IPO.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Thank you for joining us. The U.S. labor market staying strong amid the war in Iran, President Trump touting his economic policies while calling on the central bank to lower interest rates. Joining us now live is NTD's White House correspondent Iris Tao. So Iris, good afternoon. Thank you for being in studio today. So what is the report telling us?
Good afternoon to you as well. So today is a big day for a jobs report. The Labor Department reporting that in May, which is last month, the U.S. economy added 172,000 jobs, and that's far surpassing the original expectation of about 85,000. Unemployment rate also holding steady at around 4.3%, matching forecasts. And it's a clear sign that the U.S. economy is staying strong, especially as Americans are now heading into the midterms. A lot of voters, of course, focus on affordability as well as the cost of living. It's also a clear sign that the U.S. economy is remaining on a solid footing, especially as the U.S. is still in war with Iran. The White House touting today's latest economic news by saying that Trump's economy is, quote, on fire. And a top White House economic official today at the White House saying that it's a sign that Trump's economic policies are working. Let's take a look.
The supply side policies of President Trump, from deregulation to the big beautiful bill to no tax on overtime, that it's having a big positive supply side effect, and that's something that keeps surprising Wall Street economists over and over. I think that what we're seeing right now is a revival of the world where the U.S. is the engine of global growth.
And Don, specifically, as we see the numbers, what's really driving today's growth is by the leisure and hospitality as well as healthcare industries. It also follows some also positive economic news earlier this week, suggesting that a U.S. manufacturing sector has started to rebound. And also the Labor Department reporting on Tuesday that the number of job openings also skyrocketing, ballooning in April, rising by about 700,000. So it's a lot of positive economic news in a string this week. Meanwhile, we also know that such economic news also could bring the concerns of higher interest rates, as we know that a stronger and more heated weakened job market as well as economy could lead to concerns about inflation, causing the central bank or the Federal Reserve to want to hike interest rates instead of having any rate cuts. But President Trump today, while heading to Wisconsin, urging the economists to view this as a sign that they should let the U.S. economy continue to grow instead of what he calls stymieing the growth. Watch.
You don't have to have inflation by having growth, and we have great growth, and that doesn't mean inflation. In fact, it can be anti-inflation growth. So I hope the market starts to learn that when you have good numbers, the market should go up, not down. I'd like to see lower interest rates.
And this afternoon, the president will be holding a roundtable with dairy farmers in Wisconsin, during which he will tout his economic policies for sure again, but also talk about lowering the cost for farmers, opening new markets for them, as well as cutting regulations to make their jobs much easier. Don.
Okay, Iris, thank you. And the U.S. Embassy in Israel issues a security alert. It warns Americans across the Middle East to exercise caution amid what it calls the potential for hostilities in the region. The warning urges U.S. citizens to identify nearby shelters and closely monitor local conditions. It comes just one day after Iran launched a drone strike on Kuwait International Airport, killing one person and injuring dozens. The embassy says the security environment remains complex and can change quickly, with travel advisories already in place across much of the region. The alert also follows recent missile and drone activity reported by U.S. Central Command, underscoring rising tensions and the risk of further escalation. U.S. Central Command says Iran did not fire warning shots at American ships. Iranian state media had reported that Iran's Navy fired warning shots and missiles and drones at U.S. warships in the Gulf of Oman. The dispute over whether Iran fired warning shots comes as shipping traffic remains heavily restricted in the Strait of Hormuz. CENTCOM added that the USS Tripoli was sailing in the Arabian Sea as the amphibious assault ship supports the ongoing U.S. blockade against Iran. CENTCOM says U.S. forces have redirected 129 commercial vessels and disabled 6 others. Meanwhile, U.S. Indo-Pacific Command says U.S. forces had intercepted a sanctioned vessel in the Indian Ocean overnight. The U.S. Indo-Pacific Command says the U.S. forces intercepted a sanctioned stateless oil tanker in the Indian Ocean. The military said the overnight operation targeted the super tanker known as Davina. It was placed under U.S. sanctions in October 2024 for trading Iranian oil. Indo-Pacific Command says it will continue disrupting illegal networks and intercepting vessels that support Iran wherever they operate, adding, quote, international waters cannot be used as a shield by sanctioned actors. And it's been 100 days since the war with Iran began. President Trump says the U.S. will win.
800-701-6159.
Days. So I looked for another way, and I found Select Specs. I ordered online. My new glasses just arrived this morning, and I can pay over the next few weeks. This is the way to buy glasses.
See now, pay later with Select Specs. Next day delivery and deferred payment options only at selectspecs.com.
Is deep sea fish oil really healthy? Due to pollution in the oceans, most fish contain heavy metal elements and radioactive substances. That's why it's so important to choose a pure source of omega-3. Puritan Green Vegetable Omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds, which are rich in nutrients and minerals. It effectively improves brain power and is beneficial to the heart's health. Puritan Green Vegetable Omega-3. Eat 2 a day and you'll feel brand new.
Kids love it. Parents trust it. Obviously. Explore GJW Plus Kids Series and Gyeong Campus courses led by expert educators. This is spectacular. Children will learn values like respect, responsibility, and knowledge in language, science, and more. Wow. All while having fun. Perfect. Subscribe today at GJW Plus Kids, where learning meets fun.
In the design studio by Mathis Home, when our suppliers offer us special discounts,
a process that allows for a simple majority, meaning no support from Democrats, was needed to pass in the Senate. A push to prevent unlawful employment of illegal immigrants. The Treasury Department is asking financial institutions to detect and report such activities. The department says hiring people without work authorization can make employers gain an unfair advantage over legitimate businesses, depress wages, facilitate identity theft, and steal tax revenue. It says unlawful wages can also be used to finance transnational criminal organizations. The Treasury is asking banks to be vigilant against schemes to pay unlawful workers. The advisory today lists several red flags, such as individuals and companies in the agriculture, construction, domestic service, and hospitality industries registering using foreign ID. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says, quote, "This administration will not allow illegal aliens, to abuse financial institutions to steal billions of dollars from hardworking American taxpayers." The Coast Guard says it helped prevent a potential tragedy at sea after intercepting an overcrowded migrant boat carrying 240 people near the Kirks and Caicos Islands. Authorities say the vessel was packed with migrants who identified themselves as Haitian citizens. The boat was taking on water and in danger of sinking when it was spotted. More than 140 Coast Guard, Customs and Border Protection, and local personnel took part in the operation. Officials say the operation prevented what could have been a catastrophic loss of life. The Department of Homeland Security is also warning that migrants who attempt to enter the United States illegally by sea will not be allowed into the country, saying illegal maritime migration is dangerous and not worth the risk. The Senate early today blocking a motion to begin a debate on extending foreign surveillance powers set to expire next week. Lawmakers are clashing over President Trump's appointment of Bill Pulte as acting director of national intelligence. The vote failed 47-52, with nearly all Democrats opposed and 7 Republicans joining them. Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act is set to expire June 12th unless Congress acts. Democrats say they cannot support reauthorization while questioning Pulte's qualifications. Republicans warn that failure to advance the bill risks allowing critical authorities and surveillance to lapse, saying the program could go dark within days if no agreement is reached. President Trump says William Pulte will not remain in the job of acting director of national intelligence, confirming the post is temporary. The president says candidates are being interviewed and a new intelligence chief will be named soon.
Well, he's very smart. He's a person who's got high integrity. He's done a phenomenal job at Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. You probably have $1 trillion in value there. And it's an acting position. It's not a permanent. He's not going to be permanent because, I don't think he'd want to be permanent.
Pulte currently leads the Federal Housing Finance Agency. He was tapped to fill in after Tulsi Gabbard's resignation, which takes effect on June 30th. Some critics have raised concerns about his lack of intelligence experience. President Trump has praised his management background. Senate Republicans failed to advance the Save America Act, a Trump-backed election bill focused on voter identification and proof of citizenship requirements. The legislation falling short after 4 Republicans joined Democrats in opposing the measure, despite calls from fellow senators about the bill's urgency.
Every country in the entire world, countries you're familiar with, countries you're not, countries as wide-ranging as Mexico, Brazil, India, Argentina, Peru, Botswana, Burundi, they all have voter ID requirements. We do not. We do not want to leave this amount of power sitting on the table so that foreign powers can send forth people who are not eligible to vote in this country and vote anyway. We need to do this. The House of Representatives has passed the Save America Act. We now have the opportunity to vote on that same bill.
The measure failing on a 48-50 vote, with 60 votes needed to pass in the Senate. Republican Senators Tom Tillis, Lisa Murkowski, Mitch McConnell, and Susan Collins joined Democrats in voting against the proposal. The Save America Act would have required photo ID to vote and proof of citizenship to register to vote in federal elections. President Trump strongly backing the legislation. President Trump is in Wisconsin for his first trip to the state since his re-election. He will be sitting down with farmers in Chippewa Falls for an agricultural roundtable. It follows Trump's Great American Agriculture celebration at the White House in March. That event saw the largest gathering of farmers ever hosted at the White House And today, the president is taking that message directly to the heartland, touting lower input costs, new trade markets, less red tape, and new rural opportunity zones for Wisconsin farmers. Chinese and Hong Kong investors barred from investing in SpaceX, the latest move as the world anticipates the rocket company's massive IPO. More news after this break. Stay tuned.
There is a road laid out for me.
Boxes everywhere, and this is gonna be Addie's room.
I am blind,
you really like it?
I hope so. Yeah.
I know this road is there for me.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
Ways down by the river. I am blind, but I need not see.
I got this.
I know this road is there for me.
Okay.
If I'm really free, take me down to the river and wash me.
We come from a long line of farmers, and there's a sense of pride with being part of these multi-generational businesses. But there's also a significant amount of pressure. My senior year of high school, my dad made the decision that this world no longer needed him in it. I don't know if he was overwhelmed by the bills and checks that weren't going to be coming in because of the strawberries dying off, but it breaks my heart that my dad made a permanent decision for a temporary issue. Don't feel like you have to go through it alone.
Farmers have to take care of their physical and their mental health, because what's a farm without a farmer?
In the mornings, that's my time. Watching the sun come up, I can have a cup of coffee and exercise if I want to. It helps me start the day with a sense of gratitude.
Yay!
Every day is a new opportunity. Don't forget to check in on yourself. Love your mind.
Every day, thousands of kids start vaping. And I can't let this happen to my kid. Of course, it's awkward to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping. Hey, bestie, how's sketches? Ready? It's hard to get their attention. Ready? Go. Yes, look at that. You even turn yours over. So if you want to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping, you have to get it trending. Right, Backpack Kid?
Let's do it.
First, invite your kid to do the vape talk. Let's try this. All right.
Why is he here?
Yeah, I gotta get it trending, honey.
Come on.
To the left. To the right. Let's go.
Oh, honey, can we talk?
Yeah, what's up?
I see a lot of your friends vaping.
Visit talkaboutvaping.org for tips on when and how to have the vape talk.
The House passes a major aid bill for Ukraine and NATO allies, the first such measure of President Trump's second term. Lawmakers voting 226 to 195 yesterday to approve the Ukraine Support Act. The bill would make available $8 billion in loans for Ukraine and NATO partners to buy new weapons and military equipment. It also includes a range of sanctions on Russia. House Republican leaders opposed the measure, calling instead for more coordination with the White House on issues related to the war in Ukraine. Democratic Congressman Gregory Meeks first introduced the bill in April 2025. Republican Congressman Don Bacon, who supports the effort, said it was time for the House to support freedom against what he called an invading dictator. The bill must still clear the Senate before it can become law. And President Trump could also veto the measure. Russian President Vladimir Putin today responding to an open letter from Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky. Zelensky is requesting a direct meeting with Putin, suggesting the U.S. is too busy with the Iran war to negotiate peace between Russia and Ukraine. NTD's international correspondent Arian Pazdar has the latest on Russia-Ukraine.
I think it would be great if they met. They should get it done.
President Trump on Thursday saying he supports a meeting between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Russia's Vladimir Putin. Zelensky sent a lengthy open letter to Putin this week. just shortly after Ukraine bombed St. Petersburg during a major economic forum. Zelensky started the letter by saying that many Ukrainians liked Putin when he first came into power over 20 years ago. But then he went on to state that now the overwhelming majority of Ukrainians view it positively that our long-range drones paid a visit to the opening of your forum in St. Petersburg. Zelensky went on to suggest that Ukraine could launch more such attacks, while adding that Russia's resources are shrinking. That's partly why he's now proposing to hold direct talks, adding that we see that the United States is fully focused on the issue of Iran, and it would be wrong to simply wait until the war in Europe returns to the center of its attention. Putin responded on Friday, saying he sees no reason to meet with Zelensky at this time. The Kremlin leader added that he doesn't think Zelensky is actually seeking a meeting, saying the letter is more offensive than it is genuine. Before the news of the letter broke, Putin said this.
The proposals put forward by President Trump, as I have already said, could well be the basis of a peace settlement.
But it's not clear what proposals Putin is talking about.
What were the compromises that you asked?
Well, I'd rather not say, because Peter asked me. I think it was meant as a little wise guy question, but I'm not sure. But I'm very responsible when that happens. It's going to happen. They're going to both make compromises. I suggested those compromises.
The president didn't comment on the allegations that the U.S. is too busy with Iran to broker peace in Ukraine. Arian Pastar, NTD News.
Now, an American citizen has pleaded guilty to secretly working on behalf of Chinese intelligence operatives inside the U.S. The FBI says Thomas Polkin helped gather information on U.S. targets and attempted to infiltrate American political circles for China. Investigators say Polkin worked at the direction of China's Ministry of State Security and relayed reports back to his handlers. Court documents say Polkin discussed political campaigns, U.S.-China relations, and sought classified information from government-connected contacts. The FBI warning the case highlights the lengths to which the CCP will go to undermine American democratic institutions and political freedoms. Polkin now faces up to 10 years in prison. People in China and Hong Kong will not be able to invest in SpaceX. This is according to Bloomberg News today, citing people familiar with the matter. Here's more on that.
Bloomberg reports that underwriters of SpaceX's initial public offering have barred investors in China and Hong Kong, including private banking clients. People familiar with the matter say this is due to U.S. regulations on exports of critical defense technology. SpaceX is a Pentagon defense contractor. SpaceX and lead banks of its IPO have not commented on the ban. Elon Musk's rocket company is preparing its $75 billion IPO, which would be the world's largest. It would immediately make it one of the world's most valuable publicly traded companies. SpaceX kicked off marketing roadshows on Thursday in New York and posted the IPO papers on its website. But the company website and its IPO marketing documents were not accessible on Friday in China and Hong Kong. An error message says SpaceX has banned IP addresses from these locations. Over the past decade, wealthy Chinese investors have been able to access U.S. tech companies. They often do so through offshore fund structures that obscure the origin of capital. In February, Senators Elizabeth Warren and Andy Kim wrote to the Pentagon asking it to immediately review SpaceX for secretly allowing Chinese investments. The senators say such practice could pose a national security threat.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with the Philippine Secretary of Foreign Affairs today at the State Department. Their meeting comes after War Secretary Pete Hegseth met with the Philippines Secretary of National Defense last week. The War Department said the meeting aimed to reaffirm the U.S.-Philippine Mutual Defense Treaty, an effort to ensure stability in the Indo-Pacific. The department added that the two countries continue to work together to deter China in the South China Sea. Hegseth also announced that the U.S. would provide a decommissioned U.S. Coast Guard cutter to strengthen the Philippines' ability and capability to protect its interests in the region. The Trump administration yesterday imposing new sanctions on Cuban leader Miguel Diaz-Canel. his wife, and several other officials. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on the escalating pressure on Havana's communist leadership amid worsening economic conditions on the island.
The Treasury Department says the measures on Cuba freeze any U.S.-based assets and bar Americans from doing business with the designated individuals and entities, including Alejandro Castro Espín, the son of former leader Raúl Castro, along with his son.
We have some very good plans for Cuba. I think, we have to get rid of the regime was very tough, very nasty.
Also targeted are Cuba's Defense Ministry, the Institute for Friendship with the Peoples, the travel agency Amastur Cuba, and the Committees for the Defense of the Revolution. The move follows a broader sanctions push under President Trump, aimed at increasing pressure on the Cuban government over repression and national security concerns.
It sort of collapsed, and we're going to handle that as soon as we've finished. I like to do one thing at a time, and we'll take care of the Islamic Republic of Iran. And as soon as that's done on our way back, we'll just make a little brief stop.
Mr. President.
We'll take care of it.
The president saying Cuba holds promise for tourism.
The country's starving, and it's got no energy, it's got no oil, it's got no money, it's got nothing. It's got a beautiful piece of land. You could have beautiful resorts.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio says Cuba has been the world capital for radical left-wing terrorism for decades, accusing the regime of recruiting, training, and backing violent Marxist and Third Worldist movements across the hemisphere and beyond. Rubio says the sanctions target the network that enables and funds Cuba's subversive and radical operations, adding that the Trump administration will no longer tolerate radical Marxist regimes. Rubio says such regimes have sought to threaten U.S. national security and engage in influence operations to export their poisonous and evil so-called revolution to the U.S. and around the world. Ambassador Mike Waltz says the United States stands with the people of Cuba.
What the United States does not stand with is the communist regime that has failed them, that has jailed them, and that has stolen from them.
Waltz was speaking on the United States' commitment to provide direct humanitarian aid to the Cuban people. He says the U.S. is offering a $100 million package of humanitarian assistance to be distributed directly to the Cuban people through the Catholic Church.
We do not write blank checks to dictatorships.
Waltz says the Cuban regime is one of the worst human rights abusers in the world.
For more than 60 years, it has crushed dissent. It has censored speech. It has jailed political prisoners. It has driven families into exile that have tried to escape.
Waltz also asking UN member states to stop voting for the regime's annual anti-embargo resolution and publicly call for real, long overdue economic and political reforms. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth in France today with his family to attend D-Day commemorations. Hegseth, his wife Jennifer Rauchet, and their children landed at Orly Airport near Paris. They were welcomed by French Minister for the Armed Forces and veterans and other officials before leaving the airport. On June 6, 1944, more than 150,000 Allied soldiers landed in France by sea and air. The operation aimed to drive out Nazi German forces known as D-Day. It was the assault phase of Operation Overlord. The invasion marked a decisive step in the liberation of Europe during World War II. During his visit, Hegseth is expected to also meet with the French Prime Minister. NASA orders 5 astronauts aboard the International Space Station to take shelter and prepare for evacuation. The order comes after onboard air leaks ramp up, but 2 hours later, the order is lifted. More news after this break. Don't go away.
I was a young dad of 3 amazing kids. I was finally following my dreams. Just when you feel like life is starting to come together, you get kind of hit in the face. I was born with a congenital heart defect and had open heart surgery as a kid. I was supposed to go to the heart doctor once a year, and I finally went. He listened to my heart, and I'll never forget, he sat back and he said, yeah, it's time for open heart surgery, or you risk your aorta rupturing, and that's it. I was scared out of my mind. The night before my open heart surgery, I made a goodbye video for my kids. Be strong, take care of your mom. I love you guys.
seeing, all the kids hug him goodbye and hoping that they were going to be able to hug him again.
I love you.
But I did make it, thanks to the work of the American Heart Association. So that's why I'm asking you to join me. Please call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help get the next person trained in CPR, get the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care, as well as fund the next medical breakthrough like these heart valves that helped save my life. When you give $19 a month with your credit card, we'll send you this special t-shirt to show you're a part of our community of monthly donors.
I'm most grateful that I get to have a husband that I get to grow old with and a husband that gets to be there for his children.
I believe without the American Heart Association, I would not be here today. If this can happen to me, it can happen to you, it can happen to anybody. Your donation can literally help save a life. Please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now to become a monthly donor.
According to ancient Chinese medicine, purslane is considered a medicinal herb and is used to help lower cholesterol, improve vascular functions, and prevent diabetes. Perilla seeds can nourish the lungs and spleen. It is used to treat asthma and improve pulmonary functions. Puritang green vegetable omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds from Hwangmae Mountain in South Korea. It contains over 90% of omega-3, 6, 7, and 9, the highest concentration possible without chemical additives. The soft gel is made of natural seaweed. It is 100% organic and vegan. Both adults and children can take it with peace of mind. Ancient recipes were passed down from heaven to bring prosperity and longevity. Puritang green vegetable omega-3.
The Justice Department says construction of a $400 million White House ballroom is too far along to be paused. A DOJ lawyer telling appellate judges that the courts have no authority to rule on the project. The National Trust for Historic Preservation sued last year after the Trump administration tore down the East Wing in October 2025 without seeking authorization from Congress. Today, a lawyer from the preservation group told the court that the government was entirely wrong, urging the judges to halt construction and allow Congress to weigh in. A district judge had blocked above-ground construction twice, while allowing underground to work in terms of work. 7 astronauts aboard the International Space Station were ordered earlier today to take shelter and prepare for evacuation. The order came due to a worsening air leak, but the order was lifted after roughly 2 hours.
So it was all done out of an abundance of caution. It looks like Russia then have looked at the work site and decided not to proceed for now. So the crew have all gone back to their day-to-day operations, which is fantastic news.
The 4 astronauts of NASA's Crew 12 mission are aboard the station, with 2 Americans, a French astronaut, and a Russian cosmonaut, along with another U.S. astronaut and 2 cosmonauts. The station's 2 primary operators, NASA and Russia's space agency Roscosmos, have been aware of small air leaks for months, but one detected today had doubled in size. Some Russian crew members wanted to take action to seal the leak, but NASA officials disagreed with the method, prompting the order to follow safe haven procedures. The order was lifted once Roscosmos paused its efforts to repair the crack. 37 years later, after the Tiananmen Square massacre, people across the world continue to remember those who lost their lives during the Chinese Communist Party's deadly attack on pro-democracy protesters in Beijing. In Princeton, a memorial ceremony connects that history to a broader conversation about freedom and democratic values. NTD's Niku Bani has the story.
This year marks the 37th anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre. On June 4, 1989, after weeks of student-led pro-democracy demonstrations, the Chinese Communist Party sent tanks and troops into Tiananmen Square, using deadly force to clear the protests. The exact death toll remains unknown, with estimates ranging from hundreds to thousands of people killed. At Princeton University, a group of volunteers organized a commemoration. marking the 37th anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre.
I mean, everywhere in the world, probably they would expect that people in the free world and people in the United States at least spend a word or an action to support them. I think this is important.
The commemoration itself is a quiet, symbolic gathering. Wreaths are set up and posters displayed with information, while LED candles are arranged to mark each year since the 1989 crackdown. Attendees come and go throughout the late afternoon and evening, stopping briefly to learn about the history and leave a candle in remembrance.
A lot of products are produced in China nowadays, but we forget the system in China, and they are not free.
Here at the Princeton Battlefield Memorial, where a key Revolutionary War battle helped shape our nation, this is a chance to reflect about freedom and democracy, what it means for America with its upcoming 250th birthday, as well as for those in 1989 in China who protested for democracy and their calls for freedom that continue to today.
There's nothing more important than protecting the divine right of natural, God-given freedom.
Just moments ago, 2 Chinese visitors passing by this memorial asked us to delete any clips of them, showing the continued repression by the Chinese Communist Party, both at home and abroad, and the continued censorship of the Tiananmen Square massacre. Reporting from Princeton, New Jersey, Nikubani, NTD News.
A major drug bust in Texas, 48 charged, and how Mexican cartels and China are allegedly behind the supply. More news in just a quick moment. Don't go away.
The bladder control aisle. You won't shop here again. Your private business is your own. The constant struggle is over. Now there's a better way. It's HDIS. We home deliver bladder control products. We understand how you feel. For over 25 years, we've home delivered to many of the 20 million Americans who deal with incontinence. We offer all brands. We pay shipping and use plain, unmarked boxes. If we can help you or someone you care for, call for your free product sample pack and $45 in money-saving coupons. Our counselors will help you choose the right product. And unlike stores, we're always in stock. You'll get what you need. Satisfaction guaranteed. HDIS, the better way.
For your free sample pack with your free catalog, $45 in money-saving coupons, and free product samples, call 1-800-701-6159. That's 1-800-701-6159.
The 8th NTD International Piano Competition welcomes distinguished pianists from around the world, celebrating the depth, discipline, and expressive power of the Baroque, classical, and romantic repertoire. September 1st through the 5th, 2026, New York City. Apply at piano.ntdtv.com, honoring the timeless tradition of the piano.
There's a whirlwind of emotion and activity going on in this painting. And there's chaos all around and threat from below. The walls surrounding her, and they're anything but unmoved. They're moving all the time, and we sense that. But this little girl remains unmoved.
There are real consequences to controlled media. And NTD's founders know them firsthand. Our freedom of thought is the price. This is the lesson that guides us in everything we do.
So there's the tear gas there.
We know the value of a free society. And we take seriously the responsibility to preserve it. We are NTD.
Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. A hot labor market. Today's jobs report much stronger than expected. What the White House says is driving growth and what President Trump's message is on potential interest rate cuts. After an overnight vote-a-rama, Senate Republicans approve a $70 billion immigration enforcement package. The bill would fund ICE and Border Patrol through President Trump's term. It now heads to the House. NASA orders 5 astronauts aboard the International Space Station to take shelter and prepare for evacuation. The order comes after onboard air leaks ramp up, but 2 hours later the order is lifted. Chinese and Hong Kong investors barred from investing in SpaceX, the latest move as the world anticipates the rocket company's massive IPO. A major drug trafficking bust in Texas, 48 charged. Authorities say Mexican cartels in China are fueling the supply. Jason Blair reports. President Trump cracks down on slave labor, announcing new major tariffs on 60 counties or countries, rather, targeting everything from smartphones to solar panels.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Thank you for joining us. The U.S. labor market staying strong amid the war in Iran. President Trump touting his economic policies while calling on the central bank to lower interest rates. Earlier, I spoke with NTD's White House correspondent Iris Tao on the jobs report. Let's take a look. So Iris, good afternoon. Thank you for being in studio today. So what is the report telling us?
Good afternoon to you as well. So today is a big day for a jobs report. The Labor Department reporting that in May, which is last month, the U.S. economy added 172,000 jobs, and that's far surpassing the original expectation of about 85,000. Unemployment rate also holding steady at around 4.3%, matching forecasts. And it's a clear sign that the U.S. economy is staying strong, especially as Americans are now heading into the midterms. A lot of voters, of course, focus on affordability as well as the cost of living. It's also a clear sign that the U.S. economy is remaining on a solid footing, especially as the U.S. is still in war with Iran. The White House touting today's latest economic news by saying that Trump's economy is, quote, on fire. And a top White House economic official today at the White House saying that it's a sign that Trump's economic policies are working. Let's take a look.
The supply side policies of President Trump, from deregulation to the big beautiful bill to no tax on overtime, that it's having a big positive supply side effect, and that's something that keeps surprising Wall Street economists over and over. I think that what we're seeing right now is a revival of the world where the U.S. is the engine of global growth.
And Don, specifically, as we see the numbers, what's really driving today's growth is by the leisure and hospitality as well as healthcare industries. It also follows some also positive economic news earlier this week, suggesting that a U.S. manufacturing sector has started to rebound. And also the Labor Department reporting on Tuesday that the number of job openings also skyrocketing, ballooning in April, rising by about 700,000. So it's a lot of positive economic news in a string this week. Meanwhile, we also know that such economic news also could bring the concerns of higher interest rates, as we know that a stronger and more heated job market as well as economy could lead to concerns about inflation, causing the central bank or the Federal Reserve to want to hike interest rates instead of having any rate cuts. But President Trump today, while heading to Wisconsin, urging the economists to view this as a sign that they should let the U.S. economy continue to grow instead of what he calls stymieing the growth. Watch.
You don't have to have inflation by having growth, and we have great growth, and that doesn't mean inflation. In fact, it can be anti-inflation growth. So I hope the market starts to learn that when you have good numbers, the market should go up, not down. And I'd like to see lower interest rates.
And this afternoon, the president will be holding a roundtable with dairy farmers in Wisconsin, during which he will tout his economic policies for sure again, but also talk about lowering the cost for farmers, opening new markets for them, as well as cutting regulations to make their jobs much easier. Don.
Okay, Iris, thank you. President Trump is turning up the heat on global slave labor. His administration is proposing new tariffs on dozens of countries, including allies. for failing to crack down on forced labor in supply chains. NTD's Washington correspondent Jack Bradley joins us now. Jack, break down this for us.
Yeah, Don. Well, this is a major move. We have the Trump administration cracking down on slave labor, proposing at least a 10% tariff on dozens of countries for failing to stop using products made with forced labor. Now, the administration says that this practice is not only immoral, but puts bad actors at an economic advantage. Take a look.
Driving all of these deficits, we believe, among other things, are unfair trading practices. One of these is a tolerance for the import and export of goods made with forced labor. So this is the action where we proposed tariffs last night. After doing an investigation, we found that many countries either did not have laws to prevent trade in goods made with forced labor, or if they did have the laws, they weren't effectively enforcing them. This is an unfair trading practice we think distorts global trade, and we want to take care of it.
Now, specifically, the U.S. is seeking to impose a 10% tariff on major economies like the European Union, Mexico, and Canada, among others, all of which have those prohibitions on forced labor. But what the U.S. Trade Representative says haven't been completely applying it or enforcing it. Now, dozens of other countries without that face a 12.5% tariff, including China, India, Vietnam, and several others. Now, the U.S. has laws banning products that use slave labor. But when it comes to getting compliance from other countries, economic incentives drive them many times to look the other way. So the laws that the U.S. has on the books include a bipartisan Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, which presumes that all products made in China's westernmost region of Xinjiang are made with slave labor. It also bans all import of products that are known to be made with slave labor. Now, when it comes to compliance from other countries, this has been a long-standing problem. The U.S. would be excluding some of its products from the tariffs that are they're not going to apply the tariffs to certain products from those countries that are critical for national security. These are things like energy, rare earths, pharmaceuticals, aircraft parts, among many others. But right now, this tariff proposal is going to go into public hearings next month before a final decision. But all of this is raising the alarm on forced labor. And this is one of the biggest perpetrators is China, the Chinese Communist Party. And these are seen from everything from smartphones and laptops to solar panels and even kids' toys. And China also gives a lot of money to the NBA. Former NBA star Enes Kanter Freedom recently told NTD that while the NBA cares to claim for past slavery in the U.S., especially taking a knee during the Black Lives Matter movement back in 2020, it turns a blind eye to current slavery happening in China today. Don?
Okay, Jack, thank you. And now for your sports news, we're joined by NTD's Dave Martin. Dave, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Don. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. I wish it was cooler, but that's okay. But we got a lot of news today.
I would be okay with cool weather too, just so you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's easier when it's cold than it's hot to adjust your own body temperature. But
so
yeah,
true.
We got to go through this for a few more days, maybe weeks, but let's talk sports here. Right. We have baseball news, we have NBA news, and we have NFL news, so let's start there. The Chicago Bears may not be playing in Chicago much longer. What's going on with their latest stadium plans?
Yeah, here's the latest here. The Chicago Bears Board of Directors yesterday voted to advance their stadium development project just across the state line into Hammond, Indiana. The exact site still to be is still undetermined. Now, according to ESPN report, this vote does not guarantee they'll leave Chicago or even Illinois for that matter, but really that Indiana is in the lead anyway over any site in Chicago or Illinois. Now, despite that reported uncertainty, Indiana Governor Mike Braun issued a statement today welcoming the Bears to the great state of Indiana. Now, currently the Bears play at Soldier Field, and they have been since 1971. In fact, they've been at somewhere in Chicago since the early 1920s, so over 100 years there. Now, even if they do move, it's not a guarantee that they'll really change their name from Chicago if it's close to Hammond, Indiana is only about 35 miles away. It's kind of akin to the New York Jets and New York Giants, which both play and practice in New Jersey, but are still known by their New York names. But I would think for Bears fans, this isn't at least the greatest thing, having to travel all the way into Indiana to watch the game. But for the actual Bears franchise, this seems like they're the direction they're heading.
Well, yes. I mean, I don't know what to say. It is what it is, I guess.
It's all about money. We can say that.
Yeah, of course. We can always say that about anything, probably. Okay, let's talk baseball here. The Yankees announcing that Aaron Judge has had a stress fracture in one of his ribs. How long do they expect him out?
Yeah, they said, this is kind of scary, they said that he'll be out indefinitely, according to the team, which does not sound great. Now, they said they will reevaluate him in 4 to 6 weeks. They do expect him to return sometime this season, though. I mean, the end of the regular season, though, is in late September. Now, Judge has won 3 of the last 4 American League MVP awards, but he had been in a recent slump while experiencing some pain while he swings the bat. Now, his batting average has dropped down to just .248 in the season after hitting just .180 in 16 games since May 12th. He's missed the team's last 3 games as they try to seek an answer to what's actually gone wrong. So he was diagnosed with a stress fracture in his first rib on his right side. So the Yankees will play the Red Sox tonight without Judge again at Yankee Stadium. That game starts at 7:05 Eastern Time. Yankees still just a half game out of first place in the AL East behind Tampa Bay. Red Sox, meanwhile, in last place there.
Did you say how he got the fracture?
No, they don't really, there was no, play. It seems like he couldn't, at least he hasn't publicly said that it was to some play. Like a few years ago, he had a bad injury because when he dove on the field to catch a ball, he got injured there. It doesn't sound like he even really knows what actually caused this. But I mean, I had a stress fracture one time in my leg. It was just from running, and it just all of a sudden, it just starts to appear as a pain. So maybe that's the case. I'm not quite sure, but I'm not, of course, a doctor as much as you'd like to trust my opinion.
No, I trust your opinion, despite you not being the doctor.
Thank you, Don.
NBA news. Game 2 of the finals is tonight. This is after the Knicks won Game 1, of course. So what strategic challenges are you looking for in tonight's game, if any?
You know, I think to me, it's all about that center matchup. You know, Victor Wembanyama of the Spurs versus Karl Anthony Towns of the Knicks, and whether either team changes their defensive strategy regarding those two. I was surprised those two guarded each other for a good portion of Game 1. I didn't think the Knicks wanted to risk Towns possibly getting into foul trouble, but he didn't. And even though he's 4 inches shorter than the 7'4" Wembanyama, he's significantly thicker. He was able to body him up, force him into tough shots. Wemby hit just 6 out of 21 shots on the game. Now, I'll grant if Towns isn't guarding Wemby, I'm not sure who they actually have him guard, because really pretty much the Spurs put a bunch of shorter, faster players who play on the perimeter around Wembanyama. It would be a tough guard for the 7-foot, 250-pound Towns. Now, for San Antonio, whenever Wemby guarded Towns on the perimeter, it did look like it was a bit of a problem because it kept Wemby from blocking shots in the lane, but Towns is a great three-point shooter, so somebody's got to be out there on him. Now, meanwhile, how the Spurs decide to handle Jalen Brunson, especially late in the game, will be critical. I mean, I'll grant nobody has really figured out how to stop Brunson with the game on the line. Maybe you trap him, get the ball out of your hands, make somebody else beat him. It's very tough, though. He burned the Spurs in Game 1, scoring 13 of his game-high 30 points in that final quarter. No turnovers there either as the Knicks made the run, eventually pulled away for a 105-95 win. In any case, Game 2 tonight, 8:30 Eastern Time in San Antonio. Then we got Game 3 Monday night in New York City at Madison Square Garden. Tickets going for the thousands of dollars for that game. Trump could make, looks like he's going to make an appearance there at Game 3 as well. So it's going to be a star-studded Game 3 here at Madison Square Garden, that's for sure.
Thousands of dollars. I wonder how people can afford this. I mean, there's like thousands of people attending the game to watch it, and the tickets are thousands of dollars. Like, there's so many people who can afford these tickets.
You know, the funny thing is, you're absolutely right. There were fans who came to New York to San Antonio from New York for Game 1 and 2 because it was cheaper to buy 2 tickets for both first games in San Antonio, first 2 games, airfare and hotel. It was still cheaper to do that than it was to pay the cheapest prices at Madison Square Garden. I mean, you're probably talking about $3,000 or $4,000 to do tickets to game 1 and 2, plus airfare, plus hotels and everything else. So they're definitely getting priced out. I'll tell you, if the Knicks win tonight, they would take a 2-0 lead. I would think the ticket prices are going to go up even more because the demand is going to be greater. The Knicks have not won the NBA title since 1973. I think everyone wants to be at Madison Square Garden when it happens because it certainly looks like it's going to happen. I'll say that. And
the stadiums are packed, right?
The stadiums are packed. Yeah, these are just resell. These aren't really from the team. The team already allots, these tickets, playoff tickets, to the regular season ticket holders and others around the league, really, for that. For these playoff games. So these are resale. There's going to be a sellout one way or the other. It's not like the World Cup where they're now kind of dropping the prices because they haven't quite all sold out.
Right.
These are going to be a sellout one way or the other.
Okay, well, good to talk to you. We'll see what happens. We'll welcome you back for any developing news. Thank you, and pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you, Don.
Okay, moments ago, President Trump taking questions from reporters aboard Air Force One while traveling to Custer Farms. Let's listen in.
Bill Pulte, but I have 5 interviews. So cutting rates, so just getting back to you save hundreds of millions of dollars when you take 1 point off. Hundreds of millions of dollars. 2 points, you save double hundreds of millions of dollars. And so I therefore, from that standpoint. But someday we're going to have to go back to the old theory. When we're doing so good, we have more auto plants being built than we've ever had. We have more plants being built than we've ever. All these numbers are good. But when the numbers are good, we should be allowed to grow, not to stymie the growth. And we had a Fed chair that didn't understand that. Well, I would like to see that, but I leave that up. Look, I have a very talented guy. I leave it up to Kevin. But I've always said, and I've said it for years, when you have a country that's doing well, the market should go up. The market should, and the reason they go down is if it's doing well, people say, no, we have to stop inflation. And it doesn't mean inflation. In fact, it could be just the opposite.
So we had height before the midterm elections either.
Remember that we saved $600 million every point.
Why do you want Bill Pulte to cut the?
Say it.
Why do you want Bill Pulte to cut the office of the Director of National Intelligence? And how long is he going to be in that role?
Depends on how long it takes to get somebody approved. He'll do a very good job. He'll watch it closely, but Bill Pulte is very good. He's very talented. Done a great job at Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. The value there is close to $1 trillion. We built a value that's incredible. So he's done a very good job in that. He'll do a good job. He's watching for, during this time period.
And you want to cut the number of people working there?
I wouldn't mind. I've heard that's way too high for way too long. Yeah, I wouldn't mind. If he cut, I wouldn't mind that.
Sir, on artificial intelligence, are you considering the possibility of the U.S. government taking stakes in some AI companies?
Well, it's something. I did it with Intel. So I made a deal on Intel. I made for the country $50 billion. We took a stake in Intel. It was given to us by our helping. I said, look, we'll help you, but you have to give us 10% of the company. That was Intel just 9 months ago. And as I think we made about $50 billion on that deal.
Would you want to do it?
I did a very good job. I should be a stockbroker.
Mr. President, yes, sir. I'm going to change the subject if you don't mind. Did you get a chance to watch Game 1 of the NBA Finals? What did you think?
I did. Well, I'll be going to Game 3. I guess it's Game 3 on Monday. I thought it was amazing. I think the Knicks have an amazing team. The way they played. It started off slow and it just got stronger and stronger. Wemby looks like he's going to be a great player, but they really played well, I thought.
Quick follow-up. Did you see Wemby crossing his arms during the U.S. national anthem? Did you have any thoughts on that?
I did not see that. Is that what he did?
He did, yes.
What did he mean by that?
Nobody asked him.
Well, I guess you have to ask him.
Well, who's your favorite Knick?
Well, Brunson's fantastic. Towns is fantastic. They just have a great team.
What do you think that the game you're going to, the cheapest price for the game 3 you're going to is $8,000? Every
They can watch it on television. It's sort of semi-free to watch it on television, but that's the way life goes. You have some, and now if the game wasn't if the team wasn't a big success, you could go very easily. So you can do that too. But that's the way life is. They've had great success, and don't forget they've suffered also losses, and they've suffered during the bad time. Now they have a good time. They have a team that's amazing. I don't think they've lost a playoff game, right? Very unusual. Has that ever happened before? Has anyone ever had this kind of a run in a playoff game? I don't think so.
Do you have any? On the new promenade you announced yesterday, Mr. President,
Yeah.
where's the funding going to come from?
It's not a lot of money, and it's going to be beautiful. It's always been, the Lincoln Memorial has always been very tied to the Potomac River, but they built 2 roadways behind it, unexpectedly at the time, many years ago, but after the memorial was built. It used to have a tie to the river, and then the highways cut it off. And we have a really beautiful plan where it goes over a beautiful series of platforms that bring you right down to the river. It's beautiful. It's cool. It's a promenade. It's a beautiful promenade. Probably, well, it could come from we have a lot of sources of funding. We won't have to go back to Congress or anything. We have a lot of sources of funding, and a lot of people have asked me to stay involved with the Kennedy Center. We had a judge who's totally conflicted, but that's all right. He's a totally conflicted judge, should be ashamed of himself. But they've asked me in the strongest of language to stay involved with the Kennedy Center. We want to see, because the building it's very dangerous, number one. Number two, it was losing for years tremendous amounts of money. So I'm considering that. But a lot of people have asked me to get it fixed. We have to fix the Kennedy Center, or both physically and from the standpoint of attendance.
Mr. President, on oil and gas prices, I know you're saying that the oil prices and gas prices will fall after the conflict ends. Would you limit exports of gasoline if prices in the short term?
I can do a lot of things. So we have a lot of alternatives, but the beautiful thing from our standpoint is we have more oil and gas and coal and everything else than any other country on the planet. And then when you add Venezuela to it, we have probably 64% of that type of energy. That's unbelievable. The Venezuela is working out very well. We're getting along incredibly. The country is happy. The people love the USA. And we have a lot of, the big oil companies are moving in there now as we speak. And we're going to be taking out millions of barrels of oil.
Are U.S. oil majors doing enough to boost output in the U.S.? Are you asking them to do more?
Sure they do. Well, we have everything we need. The world doesn't. But I will say, people thought it was going to be a lot worse. Today I looked at $96 a barrel. People thought that was going to be $300 a barrel. And in the meantime, we're having great success with Iran. They're not going to have a nuclear weapon. And they're in no position to have a nuclear weapon.
Senator Tillis said he won't support Todd Blanche's confirmation unless Todd Blanche condemns January 6th. Do you have a reaction to that?
Senator Tillis is a loser. That's why he didn't run. He didn't run because I wouldn't support him. And he's just an angry man because he's not going to be a senator any longer. He wasn't respected in the Senate. He fought a lot of people. He fought Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth turned out to be a gem. No, Senator Tillis is a loser, stone cold, and he's an angry man because he was forced to leave the Senate because I wouldn't support him, and he quit. So now he's trying to make trouble by, opposing anybody. Todd Blanche is a brilliant guy who everybody likes and everybody respects. And Tillis is always like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. He should have done it before when he was a senator. He would have gotten wiped out in a race. But he needed my support, and I said, I can't give you my support. He's not qualified. He's not good for the position of senator. I didn't hear about what he did with Todd Blanche. Todd Blanche is fantastic.
On the AI companies potentially taking these equity stakes, have you spoken to Sam Altman or any
No, there's a concept out there. There's so much money, and it's so big that there are concepts where pieces could be given to the American public, where the American public essentially becomes a partner with the companies. And I will tell you, I have spoken to all of them. There's something very interesting about it, where it almost becomes a partnership with the American public. And we'll look into that. We are looking. I actually have a meeting scheduled in the very near future with, did you know that, with all of the companies, and we're talking about it, where the American people can benefit from the success of AI. And by doing that, they're going to like it better. Because we're leading China, we're leading everybody in the world with AI, and we want to keep it that way. It's probably the biggest industry maybe that we've ever seen.
Which companies in the meeting?
All of them. All the big ones, yeah. All the big ones. They're all coming to the White House probably next week.
And is the idea that that would be dividends for the Americans?
I don't know. We're going to see. I mean, we're going to see. Sort of, it's like you make them a partnership in this revolution. It would be a beautiful thing, and it would make them rich.
Senator Bernie Sanders proposed this 50% managed public-private partnership.
Well, I've been talking about it for the last year.
But is it odd to be kind of on the same page with Senator Sanders?
No, actually, when Bernie Sanders was taken advantage of with Hillary Clinton and he lost in the primaries, because a lot of people think he didn't lose. I mean, he had two of them, right? He lost then and he lost the second time with Biden. But when Bernie Sanders lost, you know that I got many of his people. They voted for me. Because we are on an economic plan, as far as economics is concerned. We have certain things that aren't that far apart. People are surprised. But many of you, if you'll take a look, many of the people that voted for Bernie Sanders, when he was no longer there to vote for, they went to me. I picked up a tremendous amount of his voters.
How much oil have you gotten through the strait with the help of naval escorts? And are you directing U.S. forces to guide those ships through the strait, more tankers through the strait?
A lot. I don't want to say how many, but a lot. A lot of oil is coming into our country, and a lot of oil is coming into the world that people don't even know about. And that's why it's at $97 a barrel instead of $300 a barrel. And when that whole thing is straightened out, it shouldn't take long. One way or the other, it's going to get done. And when it's all straightened out, you're going to have oil prices drop down to maybe even lower than they were. And you've heard me say this, I was in Iowa, and for a gallon of gasoline, it was at $1.85. And that was 3.5 months ago.
Last year, the FBI reopened its investigation into the cocaine found in the White House during the Biden administration. Have you been briefed on where that investigation stands?
No, but I might ask about it. I might ask. You mean in the shelves where they found the cocaine, actually? No, I might ask about it. Sorry.
Have you made a decision on the arms sales to Taiwan, that package, the $14 billion?
We're looking at that, yeah.
Are you still planning to talk to Taiwan's president about it?
I'll always talk to him, but we're looking at it.
What was your reaction to John Bolton agreeing to plead guilty in the classified documents?
Well, I was never much of a fan of John Bolton. I never thought he was a smart person, and he was a radical right in terms of war, not in terms of other things. He wanted to go to war with anybody that opened their mouth, anybody that talked. And I used him for a purpose. You know, he was involved with Bush, and he created a lot of problems. But he always wanted to kill people in war, and that was okay for me as long as I didn't listen to him, which I never did. He's a bad guy, John Bolton. He's a dirty guy, and we caught him. You know, we caught him. And, you know, he wrote a book. You look at all the information he took. I mean, if you look at that case, it's a great honor to have helped from the standpoint of encouragement. I looked at John Bolton as somebody that was a very dishonest guy and not a smart guy. And I guess he's paying the price for certainly being dishonest.
You mentioned the Kennedy Center, sir. How do you want to be involved moving forward?
Well, the same way it is. I'm the chairman. So we'll just keep it going. Somebody has to do it. It loses a lot of money. It has for years. It's lost hundreds of millions of dollars for years. And yet it's something you have to keep going. You know, it's the arts. They all lose money. Carnegie Hall. You take a look at all of that kind of thing loses. So they really, everybody, they want me to say very badly. So we're gonna take a look at it. The judge really hurt the Kennedy Center because he slowed down. We were gonna you know, we're going to spend a lot of money on fixing it and bringing it back to health. And the judge really made it very hard to do that. But I'm going to look at his ruling on that. But we have to bring it back physically. We have to bring it back, and we have to bring it back in other ways. So we'll take a good look at it.
You mentioned Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
Yeah.
With Pulte's move-overs now acting DNI, is an IPO off the table?
No, it's not. We're thinking about an IPO for that. It's not a rush, but we've created a tremendous. You know, I could have sold that for literally less than 10% in my first term. I was offered, a lot of people were offering me money, to me, meaning the country, to buy Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, as you know. And it suffered tremendous hardship. And then we built it back. And I could have sold it in my first term for 1/10 of what it's worth now, and I didn't want to do it. Now I think we would consider an IPO, yeah.
And he would stay he would potentially.
No, he'd be there. No, he's staying there.
So then who are the people you're talking to for DNI? Can you give us
I'm looking at 5 different people, all very good, all people that you know very well, all people that do that kind of thing, and they're very respected people.
Mr. President, what do you think about Major League Baseball owners pushing for a salary cap? Do you think it's time for baseball to have a salary cap?
Don't they sort of have one? Don't they?
It's a luxury tax threshold, but the teams that have the money are willing to spend it.
Well, if you don't have a salary cap, you don't have a sport, because they can't help themselves. You know, in sports, they can't help themselves. Football has a salary cap.
Every major professional league except Major League Baseball in America.
They should have done it a long time ago. I know so much about sports. They should have done it a long time ago. We're trying to help save college sports because they got some rulings that really essentially destroyed college sports. And we're working with Randy Levine and Nick Saban and some great people on trying to save it because it's so horrible.
What do you think could happen if this NIL just gets completely out of control and nobody checks it?
Well, I think what's going to happen if you don't have what they're trying to do now, that's sort of a cap in a certain way. If you don't have that, you really have a problem at not only college sports, colleges, where you see where Penn State lost $500 million, where a certain school that I like very much in Florida, they lose $400 or $500 million. You can't have that. Nobody can afford that because they go crazy. That's why when you say Major League Baseball, it's shocking, frankly, that they didn't put a cap on many years ago. They had a chance to do a cap and they blew it.
Sir, on Ukraine, now that Zelensky has proposed a face-to-face meeting with Zelensky, do you still want them to go first before the U.S. gets involved in talks?
Well, I don't mind. I mean, it's let them deal. I'm the one that got them to this position. And I think that's going to get worked out. I think we're getting close to where Russia, Ukraine should have. It's a war that should have never happened. Would have never happened if I was president. But I think that's going to get worked out. Yeah.
Will Secretary Rubio take a more active role, or do you expect
He'll be involved. I'll be involved. JD, everybody. We'll all be involved. We want to see it done. You know, we're not spending money. They're buying things from us, actually, at full price. Hundreds of billions of dollars of weapons and everything else. But it's a war that should have never happened, and it's a war that has to be. Last week, 25,000 people, over the course of the month, 25,000 people were killed. Russia, Ukraine, 25,000. It's not acceptable. Not acceptable. Thank you very much. Have a good time. See you later.
And you were just watching President Trump taking questions from reporters aboard Air Force One while traveling to Custer Farms, and he was talking about the U.S. economy because the jobs report came out today saying that markets should be going up instead of going down because a good jobs report meaning the economy is doing well, and it doesn't necessarily mean inflation. Okay, coming up, a major drug bust in Texas, 48 charged, and how Mexican cartels and China are allegedly behind the supply. Stay tuned for that after this quick break.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless, and vulnerable. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming. Please call or go online now. With your gift of $19 a month, we'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. You'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org.
Hi, I'm Susan Lucci. You may know me from my many years on television. I never thought about heart disease until I had my own heart event. I felt this slight pressure in my chest, just slight. I thought, oh, it's nothing, it'll go away. I didn't get it. I did not get it. A few days later, while shopping at a boutique, that pressure returned, much stronger. It felt like an elephant pressing on my chest. I had a 90% blockage in my main artery and a 75% blockage in the adjacent artery. I was rushed into surgery where I received 2 stents in my arteries. Stents developed through research funded by the American Heart Association. Those stents saved my life. That's why I'm in front of you today, asking you to join me in supporting the American Heart Association by becoming a monthly donor. Call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help fund the next medical breakthrough. Get the next person trained in CPR, the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. I'm so grateful to the American Heart Association. Their research helped save my life. I can enjoy life with my children, my grandchildren, and my friends. Heart disease is America's #1 killer, and your support now can help save your life or the life of someone you love. Give $19 a month with your credit card, and we'll send you this special t-shirt that you can wear to show that you are helping save lives. Please, listen to your heart. The only reason I'm here today is because I did.
Please call or go online to helpheart.org. Become a monthly donor, and for a limited time only, your first month's gift will be matched.
Thank you.
"48 people have been charged in a major drug trafficking bust in Texas. Authorities say illegal drug ingredients are being shipped from China to Mexican cartels, who then manufacture the drugs and smuggle them across the U.S. border. An ongoing problem lawmakers and law enforcement are working to stop. NTD correspondent Jason Blair has more.
The precursor chemicals come from China. They're built in labs, or they're manufactured in Mexico, and then they're coming across the border.
48 individuals have been charged in a large-scale drug trafficking takedown involving federal, state, and local law enforcement in Texas. This includes 24 alleged drug dealers with high-volume drug conspiracy-related charges, primarily involving methamphetamine, and 24 individuals for other felony and misdemeanor charges.
It really is an international network, and that's why we're all here fighting this together.
Over the course of the 18-month operation, authorities seized more than 35 kilograms of methamphetamine, 303 grams of cocaine, and 10 firearms in the Concho Valley of West Texas.
I also want to be clear, this is just the start of our presence in the Concho Valley.
The ongoing issue of the Chinese Communist Party aiding the drug cartels in Mexico has been discussed by federal and local authorities. On Thursday, the House Foreign Affairs Subcommittee on East Asia and the Pacific held a hearing on the topic.
While Mexican cartels manufacture and traffic the final product, the deadly supply chain starts and is engineered in China. This is not happening without Beijing's knowledge. The Chinese government subsidizes the export of at least 17 deadly chemicals that have no legal use.
Authorities say the takedown in Texas delivers a major blow to international drug trafficking networks targeting the U.S. And as the U.S. Attorney stated, even more arrests are coming. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Jason Blair, NTD News.
The Justice Department says that construction of a $400 million White House ballroom is too far along to be paused. A DOJ lawyer telling appellate judges that the courts have no authority to rule on the project. The National Trust for Historic Preservation sued last year after the Trump administration tore down the East Wing in October 2025 without seeking authorization from Congress. Today, a lawyer for the preservation group told the court that the government was entirely wrong, urging the judges to halt construction and allow Congress to weigh in. A district judge has blocked above-ground construction twice while allowing underground work to continue. The economic impact of the Knicks have already been quite good for New York City, but now with the Knicks making it to the NBA Finals, business opportunity has grown greatly. NTD's Sean Marshall has more on the story.
The New York Knicks' 2026 NBA postseason run has generated an estimated $202 million in economic activity from home games played so far, according to Mayor Mamdani and the City Economic Development Corporation. Bars and pubs are also gaining heavily from business around New York City.
Premier sporting events like the NBA Finals are the holy grail of tourism, okay, because we're talking about high-intent visitors to a city spending money across the whole spectrum, okay, from luxury hotels and restaurants and retail to skyboxes and suites at Madison Square Garden, all the way to Uber drivers, bartenders, and servers.
Money is flowing through pizza shops all the way to food carts.
And this is coming at a time when historically so much of the discretionary income in Manhattan goes east to the Hamptons or to the Jersey Shore. So you think about this economic impact of the NBA Finals and, of course, the FIFA World Cup coming soon. It's a great summer injection of money and tourism.
T-shirt sales are a hot item around Madison Square Garden. A steady stream of sales for those looking for extra income.
Well, the sales been all right. This is my little side hustle. Also got a little job on the side, But this is my side hustle, man, so I can pay my bills.
We got the FIFA shirts already, and we already got the Knicks shirts, baby.
How's business going?
I ain't gonna lie, business is booming. I ain't supposed to be doing this, but shout out to Jalen Brunson, man. He made me a lot of money, man. I came all the way from Columbia, South Carolina to do this.
Do you care to say how much you're able to make selling shirts? And
it's an up and down thing, though, So sometimes 3, sometimes 2. It's up and down thing, though.
Wow, and that's in a day or like a couple hours?
Well, a day. Because they got a lot of competition out here.
Even when the Knicks play out-of-town playoff games, the streets around Madison Square Garden are filled with fans for the watch parties inside and outside of the arena. City government has already canceled permits for outdoor watch parties around Madison Square Garden once after things got a little out of control, then removed the ban for the finals games. The police threatened to ban watch parties again after streets filled up during Game 1 of the finals. NYPD was undecided until the day of Game 2, but have allowed outdoor watch parties again.
Roughly 11% of the city's workforce works in hospitality. So you're looking at over 440,000 jobs that are going to get a boost, going to get increased shifts. The economic impact is real. You think about Madison Square Garden, okay, which reported a $430 million revenue last quarter. Its stock price is up 90%. It's currently trading between $385 and $390 a share.
The postseason has the potential to generate a total of $465 million in economic activity if all possible home games in the finals are played. Sean Marshall, NTD News.
People in China and Hong Kong will not be able to invest in SpaceX. This is according to Bloomberg News today, citing people familiar with the matter. Here's more on that.
Bloomberg reports that underwriters of SpaceX's initial public offering have barred investors in China and Hong Kong, including private banking clients. People familiar with the matter say this is due to U.S. regulations on exports of critical defense technology. SpaceX is a Pentagon defense contractor. SpaceX and lead banks of its IPO have not commented on the ban. Elon Musk's rocket company is preparing its $75 billion IPO, which would be the world's largest. It would immediately make it one of the world's most valuable publicly traded companies. SpaceX kicked off marketing roadshows on Thursday in New York and posted the IPO papers on its website. but the company website and its IPO marketing documents were not accessible on Friday in China and Hong Kong. An error message says SpaceX has banned IP addresses from these locations. Over the past decade, wealthy Chinese investors have been able to access U.S. tech companies. They often do so through offshore fund structures that obscure the origin of capital. In February, Senators Elizabeth Warren and Andy Kim wrote to the Pentagon asking it to immediately review SpaceX for secretly allowing Chinese investments. The senators say such practice could pose a national security threat.
7 astronauts aboard the International Space Station were ordered earlier today to take shelter and prepare for evacuation. The order came due to a worsening air leak, but the order was lifted after roughly 2 hours.
So it was all done out of an abundance of caution. It looks like Russia then have looked at the work site and decided not to proceed for now. So the crew have all gone back to their day-to-day operations, which is fantastic news.
The 4 astronauts of NASA's Crew 12 mission are aboard the station, with 2 Americans, a French astronaut as well, and a Russian cosmonaut, along with another U.S. astronaut and 2 cosmonauts. The station's 2 primary operators, NASA and Russia's space agency Roscosmos, have been aware of small air leaks for months, but one detected today had doubled in size. Some Russian crew members wanted to take action to seal the leak, but NASA officials disagreed with the method, prompting the order to follow safe haven procedures. The order was lifted once Roscosmos paused its efforts to repair the crack. The Senate early today blocking a motion to begin a debate on extending foreign surveillance powers set to expire next week. Lawmakers are clashing over President Trump's appointment of Bill Pulte as acting director of national intelligence. The vote failed 47-52, with nearly all Democrats opposed and 7 Republicans joining them. Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act is set to expire June 12th unless Congress acts. Democrats say they cannot support reauthorization while questioning Pulte's qualifications. Republicans warn that failure to advance the bill risks allowing critical authorities and surveillance to lapse, saying the program could go dark within days if no agreement is reached. President Trump says William Pulte will not remain in the job of acting director of national intelligence, confirming the post is temporary. The president says candidates are being interviewed and a new intelligence chief will be named soon.
Well, he's very smart. He's a person who's got high integrity. He's done a phenomenal job at Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. You probably have $1 trillion in value there, and it's an acting position. It's not a permanent. He's not going to be permanent because, I don't think he'd want to be permanent.
Pulte currently leads the Federal Housing Finance Agency. He was tapped to fill in after Tulsi Gabbard's resignation, which takes effect on June 30th. Some critics have raised concerns about his lack of intelligence experience. President Trump has praised his management background. Senate Republicans failed to advance the Save America Act, a Trump-backed election bill focused on voter identification and proof of citizenship requirements. The legislation falling short after 4 Republicans joined Democrats in opposing the measure, despite calls from fellow senators about the bill's urgency.
Every country in the entire world, countries you're familiar with, countries you're not, countries as wide-ranging as Mexico, Brazil, India, Argentina, Peru, Botswana, Burundi, they all have voter ID requirements. We do not. We do not want to leave this amount of power sitting on the table so that foreign powers can send forth people who are not eligible to vote in this country and vote anyway. We need to do this. The House of Representatives has passed the Save America Act. We now have the opportunity to vote on that same bill.
The measure failing on a 48-50 vote, with 60 votes needed to pass in the Senate. Republican Senators Tom Tillis, Lisa Murkowski, Mitch McConnell, and Susan Collins joined Democrats in voting against the proposal. The Save America Act would have required photo ID to vote and proof of citizenship to register to vote in federal elections. President Trump strongly backing the legislation. President Trump unveils plans for a major Washington transformation, from a restored reflecting pool to new military monuments and a rally celebrating America's 250th birthday. More after this break. Don't go away.
I debate all day. It's what I do. But there are some things that are undebatable, like your mental health, my own mental health. I was in a dark place when my brother passed away in a car accident. I've never been more devastated than the day I lost my mom. I was depressed, miserable, in ways I never imagined. I reached out, and my sisters came, my pastor, my therapist. They helped me get through it. I found that the more I spoke up, the healthier my mind became. The chaos that was in me began to subside. I was more focused, clear. When you love your mind, you can go so much further. That's not up for debate. Find mental health resources at loveyourmindtoday.org.
I am so glad you ladies are here. You each have your own rooms. Thank you. Get settled in. I'll call you for dinner. Adopting teen sisters, it's a lot. Girls, you're gonna be late. You want breakfast? No thanks, we're good. They're always in their own world. What'd you get there? Twice the work. Twice the surprises. Just try it. Good. But if you think of it that way, they're also twice as fulfilling. I think you should ask her yourself.
Is it okay to call you Mom?
Of course you can.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
President Trump says Washington is being transformed ahead of America's 250th birthday celebration with new restoration projects, military monuments, and a massive rally planned for later this month. The president promoting a patriotic revival of the nation's capital. Take a look.
Here's another one.
President Trump announcing plans for what he calls the greatest rally ever on June 24th in Washington, D.C. as part of celebrations marking America's 250th anniversary. The president says the event will feature patriotic music, military bands, and performances by Lee Greenwood and Christopher Macchio. The president also promoting a series of restoration and construction projects across the Capitol, including repairs to fountains and the Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool.
And we have it finished. The water is pouring in as we speak. And maybe we'll show that what it looks like, because I'm sure the fake news will be thrilled.
President Trump thanking the workers who fixed and rebuilt the pool, calling them our great warriors. Some Washington residents welcoming the restoration work.
It's a lovely place to come during the day. I'm glad that they put the work into doing this. I also think, there's a lot of other stuff that needs funding that probably could benefit from it besides just making parks beautiful. So I hope that gets done as well.
The White House and the Interior Department have highlighted dozens of restoration projects ahead of next year's celebrations. The president touting plans for a new triumphal arch and expanded military memorials near the National Mall.
The National Garden of American Heroes is going to be unbelievable, and this is an arc that's a real bow, a beautiful bow to your military and military victories.
President Trump also discussing plans for a new promenade.
They want to call it the Trump Promenade, but I don't know if I want to do that. But it's going to be beautiful. It's a beautiful project, and it's going to take the Lincoln Memorial right down to the Potomac, which it was always scheduled to do, but when they built the roads, that was the end of that.
Interior Secretary Doug Burgum saying the projects are intended to complete a long-standing vision for the Capitol ahead of the nation's milestone anniversary.
These projects would complete the original vision, the Macmillan Plan, and how fortunate are we to have the builder-in-chief, someone who both has the vision and the understanding of how to get projects done.
A 30-day countdown is now underway to July 4th.
President Trump is now speaking at an agricultural roundtable with farmers, where discussions are expected to focus on trade, farm costs, and rural economic development. Let's listen in.
Thank you very much, everybody. So, I just did an interview in the most beautiful barn I've ever seen. Ken, it was a beauty, but it was raining. And it was with NBC Fake News. And because it was raining, I got a little bit angry at them. I was not happy with them, but we had a good time. I just want to thank everybody for being here. We love the farmers. We love everything about your state. And you know, we won your state by a lot, and we've had great success here in Wisconsin, and we brought a lot of business to Wisconsin. We recommend it. I love the place. And hopefully you're going to be voting Republican, because frankly, Republican is, I call it the sane way to go. It's the sane way. Because what I'm seeing from the Democrats, they're going to have some problems. And by the way, if they don't, if they win, this country is finished. We're in trouble. So I hate to say that you have no choice, but I don't think you have much of a choice. These are some very sick puppies that I'm looking at that are running for office. And on the other side, I call them the Democrats, D-U-M. You take out the B. A lot of people don't know dumb has a B. You take out the B, and you change the E, you put the U, and you have a Democrat. But their policy is just outstandingly bad, and it's really bad for the farmer, because we were having record stuff, and then we had to put out a fire. We had to extinguish a nuclear weapon, a capable nuclear. This was going to be a very capable country that was going to have a massive nuclear presence, and we weren't going to let that happen. Nobody wanted that to happen, and we've largely finished that, you'll see. And one way or the other, it's finished. One way or the other, it's finished. It's either finished with a piece of paper or finished a more difficult way, although you could say a much easier way. As you know, with Iran, they have no Navy. 159 ships in 4 days. Even Ken is impressed by that. 4 days, 159 ships at the bottom of the sea. Not that we like that, but that's the way it is. And the blockade is unbelievable. There's never been a blockade like that. The Navy is, we have the greatest military anywhere in the world. There's never been a military like it. And if you remember when all the heat I was taking from the Democrats, will be nice, I'll use Democrats at least half the time. But if you remember the heat that I had to take to get help for the farmer and also to get help for the military, because they don't want anything to do with the military, the farmer, or for the most part, they don't want anything to do with anything good. And that's why the midterms are coming up. And I hope you people are really spiritized, because we're at a point, we're going to come out of Iran very quickly, and it's going to be very strong, one way or the other, whether it's a piece of paper or the very tough way, okay? The very tough way is maybe the easier way, but we're going to come out and your fertilizer prices are going to go way down, just like they were 4 months ago. Your fertilizer's down, your energy's down, your oil, your gas is all coming way down. And frankly, I thought it would go much higher than it did. I thought, frankly, that gasoline would be much higher than it was. I was in Iowa, another place I like a lot, and it was just before we started the excursion to Iran, and we passed gas stations. It was $1.85 a gallon, and we're going to get them down to those numbers again very quickly. But as they say in the farming business, we had to take care of business. Look at this guy over here. I don't know who the hell he is, but he is one hell of a specimen, I can tell you. This guy, this is one hell of a physical specimen. I thought I was big until I met you, Joe, you know? You're fantastic. That's what I like. Anyway, I just want to let you all know that I'm thrilled to be here at Custer Farms, and Ken and his family, they're amazing. I took pictures with them backstage and got to know them a little bit. They're really amazing people. They built this country. You all built this country. Not the complainers, not the wise guys. You all built this country. And I just want to... And I just want to let you know that Wisconsin, for me, has been just a great place. You know, it's known as difficult. It's difficult. You got to be good to win. But we won here, as you know. We won it a lot. And we're trying to figure out who the few people that voted against us are. We're looking for them right now. But today we're celebrating the historic strides for some of the most loyal, hardworking patriots anywhere in the nation. And they're really called our American farmers. And we're with you 1,000%, or I wouldn't be here. With you like you wouldn't believe. And you're going to see some very good things happen over the next 90-day period. I told Ken, 90 days, watch what happens. You're going to be better than you were 4 months ago. And before we begin, I'm delighted to report that for the third month in a row, the jobs numbers, I guess you saw them this morning, they just got released, and they smashed all expectations by actually 3 times with... And this is during a military conflict. I call it that because it's really not that much of a war, but it's a military conflict. It's a practice. But this is 172,000 jobs were created in May. That's about 4 times higher than anticipated. And experts predicted 30,000 jobs. These are the strongest job numbers of the entire administration so far. And that's during this conflict on top of it. So it's great. And you know, we have a problem in this country, because it used to be, I'm a little older than a couple of you, but I don't feel old. I feel the same as I did 50 years ago. It's crazy, Mr. Senator. We got a great senator right here, Ron. But I do feel the same. But in the old days, you know, if you had good job numbers, like great job numbers like they announced today, the stock market goes up. Today, everything is crazy. The whole world is crazy. So when you have great job numbers, the stock market goes down, because they think interest rates will go up. And when interest rates go up, they stop inflation. Well, you know what else stops inflation? Growth actually stops inflation. And they ought to go back to the old system. When we have good numbers, the markets ought to go up, not go down. And that's the way you build greatness. You build greatness that way. So I think we have a great gentleman coming in, Kevin Warsh. He's going to do a fantastic job at the Fed. We're getting rid of too late. But we have, Kevin is one of the greats. So you're going to see. But you're going to see, beyond anything, you're going to see numbers coming in over the next more than 2.5. We have 2.5 years plus. Can you believe how time flies, right? And can you believe the work we've done? You know, it's sad because you have speechwriters and you have advisors and you have all these people, and generally you don't like listening to any of them because if you do, you're in trouble. But I said, you know, I want to write about the border, and I want to talk about the border because when I came here, we had the most unsafe, we had the worst border maybe anywhere in the world. There was no border. 25 million people came in, drug dealers came in, people from mental institutions came in, murderers came in, 11,888 murders, most of whom, over 50% of whom, killed, can you believe this, more than one person. One killed 7 people. We allowed them into our country. We've got them largely, they're going out, and they're going out fast. We have to fight crooked judges, crooked administrations, crooked politicians, but they're going out fast. But we have the safest border in our history for the last 12 months, and this is a hard number to believe, but I don't give it. It's a number that's out there. You've heard it. 0 people have come into our country through our southern border. 0. It's a little hard to believe, but it's a little hard. If they said like 20 people, I would have been, 25 million came in through Sleepy Joe Biden. So we had 0 people, and these are done by largely sort of a radical leaning left people, the reports, but it is what it is. And the good thing is they don't try to come in. It makes it a lot easier because they know it's going to be very hard to come in. Now, we take people in, but they have to come in legally. We want people to come in, but they have to come in legally. But I say, let's talk about the border. Sir, nobody cares about the border. I said, I won the election on the border. Let's talk about the... Sir, I'm telling you, nobody cares. Run. Nobody cares about the border. You fix the border. I want to brag about it. Sir, they want to hear about other things like fertilizer. And we'll take care of fertilizer, too. When I also came in, eggs were like the highest. And remember this, I inherited all these high prices. They came in and they said, affordability. They made up the word, because that's the only thing they're good at, although I'm good at making up words too. They go, affordability. I was there one day, and I said to our great Secretary of Agriculture, what's with the egg prices? So on my second day, I gave a news conference, which is more news conferences that Biden gave in like 6 months. But he almost did. He didn't do it. Yeah. Sleepy Joe was not heavy into news conferences, all right? He'd take one question, he'd go, oh, let's see, Jim Smith from NBC? I don't do that, they just start screaming at me. So I had a news conference on my second day, and they said, what about eggs? What about eggs? Tell me about eggs. I said, what's the story with eggs? Give me a little hint, what's with eggs? They said, what's happening with eggs? And I was told, we have the great Easter egg hunt at the White House, and I was told to order plastic eggs. I said, I'm not ordering plastic eggs. And I called this young lady right over here, Brooke Rollins, Secretary of Agriculture. I said, Brooke, get the egg prices down, please. And she got them down. And by the way, speaking of, Tom Tiffany is one of the best congressmen in our country. And I was there, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago, right at the beginning. I endorsed this guy. I had no idea, but I liked his last name. You know why? Because I bought the air rights many years ago off Tiffany, and I made a lot of money. So I saw Tom Tiffany, and I backed him, and he went like a rocket ship, and he won, and you've kept winning. And now he's running for a thing called governor, and you have... I don't want to knock him because he's finished after this, but you have a very sleepy governor, too, and you got a very sleepy... But I can tell you, Tom Tiffany is running for governor. He's a winner, and he's going to do a great job, okay? Right? Good luck to him. So in a single month, we added 7,000 new manufacturing jobs and 17,000 new construction jobs, and we're building more plants than at any time in the history of our country. We have $18 trillion coming into the United States. As an example, the previous administration, in 4 years, think of this, had much less than $1 trillion come in. We have $18 trillion from countries and people all over the world in 11 months, not even in 1 year. So that's some difference. And I think that's probably why people are shocked to see the job numbers, because the construction jobs are through the roof. But when these plants, car plants and AI plants and all the different plants, when they open up, you know, we're leading China by a lot. I just got back from China. I was with President Xi, who I respect. But we're leading China by a lot in the AI race, a very important race. And we're leading everybody now when it comes to cars. They're coming in from Germany. They're coming in from Japan. They're coming in from Canada. Canada treats you guys rough, you know? Canada, they put on big tariffs. We didn't meet them with tariffs. I took care of it my first term really strongly, and I am now. But Canada's been very rough. You find them rough to deal with? Yes, you're pretty rough to deal with. He's more of a diplomat than me. And we are doing well. The previous 2 months, we were revised upward by nearly 100,000 jobs. They put the numbers too low. So actually, we had 100,000 more jobs than they reported. They were obviously Democrats, right? Wages for workers continued to rise, and for manufacturing workers, wages are up more than 8% since I took office, which is close to a record. Think of that. A blue collar is doing better than it's ever done before. And your farmers, if you remember, we had a bad patch in my first term where China and other countries were sort of boycotting the United States. And I met with the farmers and I said, I'm going to get you something for it because you've been treated very badly. And I got $28 billion for the farmers in the first term, remember? I just asked Ken whether or not he got it. He said, I did. And we're looking at something also. Right now, we're looking at something to take the place of what's happened because it's artificial. What happened to you is artificial with the energy and with the fertilizer. So we're looking at something. But in the first term, I got the farmers $28 billion. And I'll never forget, I was in the White House. I had about 35 farmers along this big, beautiful table. Not as beautiful as this table, okay? But this gorgeous, beautiful White House table, all the best. And I said, I'm going to get you a subsidy. And they looked at me, and he just said the same thing. One of them looked at me, stood up, said, sir, we don't want subsidy. We just want an even playing field. I said, nobody ever said that to me. All they want is money. You understand that? First time. Nobody ever said that. I've had so many meetings with different groups, different industries. If I said, I'm going to get you $28 billion, they say, oh, get it as fast. They actually said, we don't want it. Now, I got it for you anyway. I didn't notice anybody turning it down, but I got it. But they said something that no other group said, Ron. They said, we don't want a subsidy. We just want just an even playing field, fair trade. They just wanted to be treated fairly. And nobody else has said that but the farmers. So we love you. We love you guys. So we're building more factories now than at any time. And we've also had huge drops. And I'll tell you, this is something that's amazing. African-American unemployment is now doing better than it's ever done. And I don't know where that stat came from, but I'll take it. I don't know where the hell that stat came from, but we'll take it. And a short time ago, we were a dead country. We were dead as a doornail. If you look, go back 2 years, we were a laughing stock all over the world. We had a president that couldn't walk up a flight of stairs. He couldn't walk down a flight of stairs either, you know. And we had everybody, we were a laughing stock all over the world. And I was with the King of Saudi Arabia because I wanted him to invest trillions of dollars into our country. Look at that whole situation now, too. It's very interesting. But he was good, and he said to me, you know, President, it's amazing. A year and a half ago, we thought you were a dead country, and now you're the hottest country anywhere in the world that we are. We're the strongest, we're the hottest, and we're the most respected country anywhere in the world. So, as I said, the stock market just hit 73 all-time records in a short period of time. We've had 73 all-time record highs. And your 401ks, who has a 401k here? Let me just say, a lot. Your 401ks, as you know, just hit a record high. So that's everybody. And we're just off a very big success in Washington, D.C. We had, it doesn't sound like much, but Washington, D.C., was not properly managed or kept. We had 22 fountains. None of them worked for the last 50 years, none of them. They were graffiti strewn. I did it the inexpensive way. Why should we have a screen? Everybody here has good vision. I want to show you something. Look at this. I'm going to show you the cheap way, okay? We don't want to bring screens. It costs too much money. Look at that. That's before and after. Look at that. Look at it. Can anybody see that? That's before. That's our nation's capital. That's what it, look at this graffiti all over it, filthy, disgusting stone. The stone was all horrible. And look over there, that's before and after. Then we had the reflecting pond, 2,500 feet, massive, longer than a building. We have a stat here that's sort of great. Can you guys see this okay? Because I'm too cheap to put up like a projector. Look, so that's the pond. If we're standing up, here's your Sears Tower, Empire State Building, World Trade Center. Look, it's double and triple the size in terms of area. So it would have cost $400 million, Ron, to fix. It would have taken 4 years. And they were getting ready. Doug Burgum's done an amazing job. And I said, you know, rather than doing that, they were going to put stone down, big stone, granite, wonderful, but it all leaks because you have joints. So being a very good builder, I said, you know what? I built a lot of swimming pools, many, many swimming pools. Every time I do a development, I do swimming pools. I know more about swimming pools. I said, why can't we put the wonderful material, which is thick, pasty, beautiful, like rubber, but industrial strength? Why can't we use it? And let's pick the color blue from the American flag, which is what we did. And that is the most beautiful thing that you've ever seen. And look at that. I mean, look at that. It just opened yesterday. We just opened it. So there was going to take 4 years, 400 million. It took really about a month. Okay, it was going to. Can you imagine Washington between Lincoln? Think of Washington, D.C., between the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington. Just think about this. You know that beautiful spire in honor of the great George Washington and the beautiful Lincoln Memorial. So between there, thousands of feet long. It was built in 1922, and to be honest, it never really worked. It leaked like a sieve because it was stone and concrete. So I took over the project. Now, Barack Hussein Obama, have you heard of him? Barack Hussein Obama spent, and Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe, they spent a total of about $150 million trying to fix it. They never got it opened. It never worked. It was terrible, disgusting. It was garbage-ridden. And I said to my pool guy, I said, take a look at it. And he said, well, sir, we can do it. We'll get industrial strength. And I used some guys, not him, I used some guys, but he gave me some good ideas because he's a pro. You know, they got very upset when I sent my pool person. I said, who else am I going to send? So I sent him over, and we sprayed it and put down beautiful, like a pool coating. It'll last maybe 50 to 100 years. So here's the thing, 400 million versus like 10 million. 4 years versus a month. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? And the difference is, look, here's your Lincoln Memorial. You have the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial. Look at that, beautiful. Look at how that reflects. It's like a mirror. Off beautiful, clean water. They had like garbage. Barack Obama wanted to save money, so he took the water out of the Potomac. That didn't work out too well. A lot of things were coming out of that river into this one. It wasn't good. So we just think of it. So like a month of this work, we actually added to it. We did the sidewalks, because once we did this, we had to do the rest because it looked so good. But think of it, 400 million versus like 10 million bucks for a better job. 4 years versus a month for a better job. We have many things like that. I talk about that all the time. We do a lot of things like that. So we're very proud of Washington. We had 22 fountains that didn't work. All of the fountains, not one fountain in Washington worked. Out of the 22 fountains, they're all looking beautiful, just like the one I showed you. And now they're clean, they're beautiful, there's no graffiti. Washington, D.C. is a safe city. It was a very unsafe city a year and a half ago. And a very unsafe city. Your child would go to see the Jefferson Memorial or the Washington or the Lincoln or any of them and would oftentimes not come back. It was a horrible place. It was horrible what was happening. And we put our great military in there. We did a job. We removed 5,000 people that were career criminals. 2% of the people, think of this, 2% of the people, did you know this, Ron, create 91% of the crime. And I love that statistic because you can get rid of 2%. And we took them out. We brought them back to where they came from. They came in, many of them came in through Sleepy Joe's open border policy, one of the craziest policies I've ever heard. So we saved a lot of money. And you go to Washington, D.C., new grass. People say they don't even recognize it. We did that all in a little bit more than a year. And even I said, I mean, it's amazing. But maybe the biggest thing is it's considered now a very, very safe city. And you can go there and you're going to be 100% perfect. We had the restaurants were all closing and now they're opening up. They don't have enough restaurants anymore. It's a beautiful thing to see. Every day my administration's fighting to protect and defend the jobs and livelihood of our great farmers. I love our farmers, our growers, agricultural producers, ranchers from coast to coast. Under the last administration, Biden and the radical left Democrats in Congress crushed farmers with brutal restrictions, crippled you with the worst inflation. So the Biden administration had the worst inflation in the history of our country. They say 49 years, 48 years, but whether you say 48 or forever, I think it was forever. We had the worst inflation we've ever had, and think of that, and failed to negotiate even a single new trade deal for our farmers. They didn't negotiate one new trade deal for our farmers. I just made a great deal. I came back from President Xi, and he's buying billions and billions of dollars worth of soybeans and other things, and you're seeing that starting to kick in. Thank you. So by contrast, in my first year back in the Oval Office, average farm incomes for agricultural producers in our country have skyrocketed by more than 20%. Now, it's been over the last couple of months since we went in for the military operation. You've seen fertilizer go up and you've seen energy go up. It's going to come down to where it was or lower. You'll be very happy. Otherwise, Ken is going to call me. He's going to bawl me out, and I'll say, oh, sorry, Ken, I was only kidding, right? All right? He knows I'm going to do it. With Republicans in Congress like Tom Tiffany, like Derek Van Orden. Where's Derek? Derek. This guy he fights like hell. He's in a little bit of a community that tends to be on slightly a little bit more than we wanted left, but he loves them all, and he's very popular, and he's going to win by a lot. You're doing well. I understand you're really doing well, so thank you, Derek. And he's a real fighter, and he's a great guy. We've been friends right from all of us. We've been friends right from the beginning. So we passed the largest tax cuts in American history with a great, big, beautiful bill. We made the small business tax deduction permanent, benefiting 98% of the farmers and ranchers. We gave you 100% expensing and bonus depreciation. So when you buy a new tractor or anything else you buy, you're allowed to deduct it. Do you buy any new tractors? Got a lot of nice tractors back there. Got a lot of tractors back there, by the way. But so you can deduct it, the full cost of the tractors, 1 year, any equipment, 1 year, all. You can deduct it all in the first year instead of over a period of many, many years. And we also saved the $2 million. Thank you very much. That's a big deal, actually. We also saved the $2 million American farms from, think of that, from extinction by ending. What we did is we got rid of the estate tax or the death tax. So if you love your child, If you love your child, if you don't love your child, then don't worry about it. Doesn't make any difference. Does anybody not love your child in the audience? No, but if you have a farm like this, someday it's going to come the time, right? And I met your boys, and he loves his boys. I know that because he started clapping for that last statement about no death tax. And he was clapping. He didn't clap for anything else. That means you love your boys. So, boys, I just found out your father loves you. But think of it. And I was seeing this in my first term. We did it my first term. We did it now. We extended it out. So you have no estate tax, or we call it the death tax on a farm or a small business. Now, I saw it myself. You have a way of life that sometimes you're land rich and cash poor. Sometimes you have lots of different conditions. But people that are on farms love being on farms. You wouldn't trade my life. You wouldn't want my life. Believe me, you don't want it. Your life is much better than my life. I will tell you, your ear wasn't a little pierced over here. You didn't get pierced. You have a nice, safe, beautiful life. But I've seen it with farmers maybe more than any industry. People want to have their farm. It's a way of life. And they love the life on the farm. And the family would leave, the father would die, the mother would die, leave it to the kids. The kids would have a big estate tax problem or a death tax problem. They'd go to the bank, they'd borrow a lot of money, more money than they should have borrowed, couldn't make a deal, and they'd end up losing the farm. In many cases, I have to say, they'd do terrible things. They'd commit suicide. They'd lose their farm, they'd lose their way of life. They couldn't pay the tax. And I got rid of that tax. I ended that tax, so I hope you're happy, right? And the Democrats fought me on that, by the way. If they ever got in, I think they'd end that. But if something happens, if you love your child, you want to leave it. You have no estate tax, no death tax to pay. And every single Democrat in Congress voted against these critical measures. They voted against the no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. They all voted against all of this stuff. They voted against a tax reduction. They voted against all of it. And they voted against saving your family farms from the death tax. So just remember that when you go into the polls, because they'll change it back immediately. There's something wrong with these people. All of these things that we have done, and Tom, Tiffany, I have to say, you were so helpful, and Derek, what the job you've done with me and helping to get it passed. And let me tell you, that man is a senator. He loves the farmers and he loves your state. And he doesn't care about anything else. He wants to make sure you get treated fairly. And there's no better advocate. You have no better advocate than Ron Johnson. So thank you, Mr. Senator. Thank you. And he'll be a hell of a governor. I know the guy, he'll drive you crazy. He'll be calling me, President, you got to send more money to Wisconsin. Leave me alone, all right? He'll do well, too. Thank you. As president, I fought for the American farmer like no one has ever fought before. Nobody's, like I'm up here today, I don't need this. I got elected, I don't have, what the hell do I have to be here for? I got elected, I'm here because I like the farmer. I mean, when you think about it, I guess there's a lot of truth to that, right? I could be home right now in the beautiful White House watching somebody else on television talking. On day one, I terminated the insane electric vehicle mandate. They wanted your tractors to be all electric. They wanted your cars to be all electric. And, you know, look, Elon, he had a bad moment, but now he's a friend of mine again. He had a very bad moment. He's 80% brilliant and 20% he's got little bad moments. But I love electric cars, but you know what? Not everybody wants them, and not everybody, in terms of distance and lots of other things. And I think they're great, but I also want to see all gasoline. I want to see the hybrids, which are great. I want you to have anything. And they wanted your tractors, you know. They wanted the tractors to be turned into all electric. And that didn't even sound good to me, right? That didn't even sound good to me. And it wouldn't have worked very long. You would have had to stop every 15 minutes to get a new charge. How would it be if you're driving your tractor along, everything's wonderful, and then Ken, he wants to work. He goes, oh man, I got to go get a new charge every 10 minutes. That's not too good, right? You'd rather be able to operate it for about 4 days before you fill it up, right? So anyway, so we solved that problem. We ended the electric mandate, okay? And on day one, and one of the other reasons, this would have gutted the ethanol industry. Do we have fans here of the ethanol industry? Okay. Because if they got in, they will end the ethanol industry in one swoop, so you better remember that. And we eliminated all unnecessary restrictions on sales of E15, and I've made it clear that we're going to go E15 all year round, and I think it's something that you want, right? Do you like that? Are you happy with that? Are you happy? So they put a lot of these guys, that's all they talked about, E15. They were driving me crazy. They called me, can we talk about E15? How about something else, right? Tom Tiffany would call, can we talk about E15? But anyway, you got your wish, fellas, okay? And we massively expanded crop insurance and issued a historic $12 billion in farm relief. So it's $12 billion, but it was $28 billion in my first, and we're looking at that right now about increasing it. And to stop major equipment manufacturers from restricting you from fixing your own farm equipment, we gave you the right to repair. Do you like it? The right to repair. It was a little strange. I mean, some of you are better mechanics than the people at John Deere. And I will love John Deere, Mr. Bay of John Deere. But they wanted to, your tractor is broken down. I'll bet you can fix a tractor as well as about anybody else, right? I can look at this guy. I guarantee if you were mandated, let's say you have a tractor, it's broken, and you know exactly how to fix it, you wouldn't be too happy about being mandated to bring the tractor back to John Deere or wherever you got it, right? You'd like to fix it.
Not so much.
I mean, they actually have, the Democrats, a restriction that if you get caught fixing your tractor, they bring you to jail. You know that? You know that I pardoned a man last week who was sentenced to 7 years in jail because he got caught fixing his car or his truck. I said, I like to always say, what did he do? Sir, he was fixing his truck. I said, how long is he getting? 7 years. I said, say it again. It's the first time I've ever heard it. Like 2 weeks ago, I gave him a pardon because he had to go to jail because he was fixing his tractor or his truck. So I promise, Ken, if you ever get caught fixing your tractor or truck, I will give you a pardon, okay? No, but these are the crazy Democrats. That's what they want. I terminated the ridiculous so-called diesel exhaust fluid requirement. Does that mean anything to you? Big, right? Joe is happy, so I want to keep him happy just in case he gets violent. He's happy. And I repealed the Biden-era EPA, ludicrous, just the crazy waters of the United States. It sounds so nice. It's the worst rule that you've ever had. Waters of the, how could it be nicer? What a beautiful title. It was like taking your land away from you. It was horrible. And I totally repealed it. And there are some people, when I did that repeal, I had a lot of farmers and contractors, builders, house builders, in my office. And I announced the repeal in front of them. I signed it. And these are tough guys. In fact, they look like him, just smaller. And who isn't smaller? I think everybody's smaller. But no, they look like Joe. And they were crying. Half of them were crying. You remember that? Half of them were crying. I said, why are you crying? What's the big deal? He said, you gave us back our life. They actually had their life taken away. They couldn't touch their land. If they even touched it, they were in violation. They also would go to jail. That was the crazy environmental nonsense that we're all putting up with, which has largely ended. Perhaps most importantly, with our historic trade deals, I've dramatically expanded exports of American meat, poultry, soybeans, biofuels, and of course, Wisconsin dairy, the best, right?
That's right.
And I just see that dairy exports have surged nearly $1.2 billion under our leadership, and this is with a conflict going on. Remember what I said, Ken, when this conflict ends, you're going to see things that you've never seen before because we are ready to rock. We've never had this kind of investment coming into our country. Nobody else has either. Nobody has ever had anywhere near, not even near, including China, nobody's had this kind of investment coming in to a country. So increasing 41% to Japan, you've increased your sales. 41% to Japan, 48% to the Middle East, 61% to European Union, 63% to South Asia, and 85% to Australia. So you're doing pretty well. You're going to see it, and you're going to see it a lot better in about 3 months from now. I also signed something that you may or may not like. I don't know. It sounded good to me. It didn't sound very bad to me, but people love it. I also signed the Whole Milk for Healthy Kids Act. You know what that means? That was another one. I had a big signing at the White House. We had some people that have been fighting for that for years. I called Ron. I said, Ron, what's to fight for? I mean, it just sounds good. And it's just better. It's healthy. I like it. I drank it. I don't know. It gets harder to get it. Now we have it. So that, it's totally opened up now for the kids, and it's great for anybody. And now we're working with Congress to quickly pass the new Farm Bill. We're very well into it. We got some great approvals, the hardest approvals, and I think we're very well on our way to getting the Farm Bill finished and approved. And just to finish up, with the help of the farmers like those here, today we're also helping bring down grocery prices for hardworking Americans, and they're coming down very rapidly. Remember, I inherited these prices. I didn't start. My prices were great. They rigged the election. When I turned, the election was totally rigged. It was a rigged election, just like they're rigging the election right now, it looks like in California. Can you imagine? It's 4 days, and they still aren't even close to telling you who won. You know why? Because they're rigging the election, that's why. 4 days. In Spain, they had it like, I'm not a big fan of Spain, to be honest with you. It's gone very far left. But they had an election. All the votes were in, similar size to the state of California, a little larger, actually. And every vote was in by 10 o'clock in the evening and counted. You're going to be waiting weeks to get these votes. It's corrupt. Somebody said it's incompetent. I said, no, just the opposite. It's unbelievably competent if you happen to be a Democrat politician. Because with their policies, the only way they can get elected is to cheat. And when you look at an election, not even relatively a big election, for one state, for one city, for Los Angeles, they're nowhere close to counting the votes. But you look at what's happening, it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And the people that were supposed to win, bad things are happening. It's a crooked state. We have crooked third world elections in a lot of our states, and we should pass our Save America Act. Amazing. And that'll really stop it, too. That'll stop it. That's where you have voter ID. It's where you have birth of, your citizenship. You have to prove your citizenship. I think that sounds good. And also, I added a couple in there. Also, the ballots, the voting, the mail-in ballots, so crooked. They send millions of ballots out all over the place. If you're a Democrat, sometimes you get 6 or 7. If you're a Republican, you have to call up, where are my ballots? It's such a crooked deal with third world country. But I added 2 things. No men playing in women's sports. And this is like best of. No transgender mutilization surgery on your child, on your children. None. So we added them. So we inherited very high costs, and we're getting them down. They're coming down very rapidly, and when fuel comes down, they're really going to come down. And I just want to say it's an honor to be here. We have Senator Ron Johnson, we have Congressman Tom Tiffany, we have Congressman Derek Van Orden, we have Hall of Fame offensive lineman Joe look at the size of this guy. Good. Boy, oh boy. So you're a Hall of Fame. Did anybody get by you?
Never.
Never. He's a good-looking man. That's great, Joe. It's great to know you. Really good. Great career, too. I know who you are. Former president of Leinenkugel Brewing Company, Jake Leinenkugel. Thank you, Jake. The owner here of Custer Farms, and he's a great guy. I think I can almost call him a friend. We had a great time back there, and a wonderful family. Ken, thank you very much. And a fantastic dairy farmer, Jamie Witz-Palak. Where is Jamie? Jamie? Hi, Jamie. Thank you. And finally, two-time gold medal winner in speed skating in this year's Winter Olympics, Jordan Stolz. Where the hell is he? Whoa. Oh. That's pretty good. Whoa. Stand up. Stand up. Yeah. USA. 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 I'm keeping it. I'm keeping it, Jordan. I'm not giving it back. I'm a very good guy for keeping gold. I like gold. I'm never giving this back. Congratulations. I forgot to touch his leg. I didn't want to do that. But I can tell you one thing. His leg is like a rock. That's fantastic. 2 gold medals. Wow, that's big stuff. Thank you. It's an honor. And speaking for my other athlete up here, that's pretty good, right? Too. And you go through big competition with a lot of great athletes, right? Are you going to be doing it again? Another Olympics?
I plan to be doing it until 2030, as long as I can. Until Salt Lake City in 2034.
Well,
so that'll be on home soil.
We're going to be watching, okay? You could do it again. Right. So, if we'll go in order if we can, and we'll start with Brooke Rollins and go to Ron Johnson and Tom Tiffany and Derek. And Joe Thomas, would love to have you say a few words, because you can tell us about real tough life, and it's tough in those pits, right? Pretty nasty people in there. You meet some large, nasty people, but you can handle it. And Jake, we're going to ask you to say a few words, if you would. And Ken, and we'll go pretty quickly, because I have to get back to fighting a war in Iran. There's a hell of a speakers list. We might be here all night. Yeah, if we can, fellas, I got to get back to a place called Washington and protect you, okay? So if you go very quickly, we don't need your life story other than I like the Olympic guy and I like this guy right over here. And Jordan Stolz would like to have you say a couple of words too, okay? Hey, Jordan, why don't you start? Go ahead.
Well, first I want to thank you to all the farmers who are here, and I don't think people really understand how much you guys make a difference in the country. I mean, you guys are the backbone of the nation, and for me, myself, personally, I try and eat as clean as possible, and, you know, a lot of steak, a lot of dairy, and, you know, you guys are the backbone of Wisconsin, so I just want to say thank you to all the farmers and everybody who could make it here today, and, of course, to the president.
That's good. Thank you, Jordan. That's a winner. Tough to win like that. Yeah, it's a very tough when you're dealing with fractions of a second. That's a tough thing to do. Congratulations. Secretary, if you would, go quickly. Thank you.
Very quickly, how about a big thank you to God for the rain and the farmers and for President Donald J. Trump. President Trump mentioned that when he came back into office, we inherited an almost $50 billion agricultural trade deficit, meaning under Sleepy Joe Biden, not one new trade deal was struck, and we lost $50 billion of market access around the world for you, our great farmers. But in just a little over 1 year, 19 new trade deals have been struck. The markets have opened around the world. We are going to break every record for dairy, for tree nuts, for corn, for ethanol, as we move the American farmer's product, the best in the world, back out to the rest of the world, while at the same time inheriting inputs that had never been so high in the history of our country, whether that was fuel, fertilizer, labor, interest rates, seed, one after the other, and those numbers all were coming down significantly, and as the president promised, will soon come down very soon again. Sir, there is no better American than the most American of all Americans, and that is our great American farmer. God bless you. Thank you so much, sir.
Ron Johnson, please.
Mr. President, welcome to Wisconsin again. You certainly have paid a lot of attention to our state, and we truly appreciate it. Like you, I met with these great farmers backstage, and you nailed it. They love farming. This right now is a third-generation farm, hopefully pass on to fourth. But they face numerous challenges. But what I thought was very common in all the comments speaking to me is they realize that you are going to fight for them. You have turned the Republican Party into the party of the working men and women in this country who have made this country great and who will continue to make it great, and they recognize that. So they know the big messes the Democrats left for you. They realize you don't turn those messes around and fix them right away, but they know you are absolutely dedicated to do it, and they love you for it. So God bless you.
Thank you. So your next governor, hopefully your next governor, Tom Tiffany. Please, Tom.
Mr. President, where we sit here today, I grew up about 30 miles from here on a dairy farm, milking cows with my brothers and sisters. I want to thank you for signing that bill, whole milk for healthy kids. There's no reason kids can't have whole milk in our schools. Thank you very much for that. And I also want to thank you, and I want to thank the Secretary of Agriculture, because you've stood up for forestry. We are now once again managing our forests here in America that have been left in decline for 3 decades. You are doing good things on that front. And the final thing that I want to say to you, that gentleman to your right was the impetus 6 years ago when I came into the Congress of the United States, showing what a disaster it was to convert our beautiful, productive farmland in Wisconsin and across America into intermittent sources of power like wind and solar. He was the impetus behind me talking to you about that. Remember July 2nd last year when we had that meeting in the White House? This is what we talked about, and it has led to higher utility rates, and it has led to the destruction of our farmland. We're not going to allow that to happen here in the state of Wisconsin.
He's right about that. He's right about that. Derek, please.
Mr. President, yesterday we got to spend about an hour and a half in the Oval Office, and you announced the $50 million that you are sending to the state of Wisconsin for clean, beautiful coal. Thank you for that. Mr. President, you signed a $50 billion rural healthcare infrastructure bill. Of that, over $200 million is coming to the state of Wisconsin to make sure that we have healthcare in our rural areas. Thank you for that, sir. You signed whole milk for healthy kids into law, sir. You just reopened every single domestic market in our schools, and that is amazing for the MAHA movement, for our kids, and for our dairy farmers. Thank you for that, sir.
Thank you,
Last thing, E15. We are bugging you, and this is the thing about the president you don't know. You call him, he answers the phone. And he understands these issues inside and out. So when he was sort of joking about us talking about E15, sir, you took that on board hard. The only reason that E15 year-round got through the Congress is because of Donald J. Trump, and that did so much for our row croppers, sir. Thank you very much, and welcome back to your second home.
So, Joe, great football player. I would tell you one of the truly greats, Hall of Famer. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. President. Joe Thomas, Hall of Fame Farms, Muscadet, Wisconsin. You should come visit. It's beautiful. I got to pump Secretary Rollins' tires a little bit for the Small Processors Action Plan, because as a farm-to-table beef producer like myself, we see one of the biggest bottlenecks in our country is the lack of small packing and processing plants. For people like me that are trying to raise farm-to-table beef, Wagyu and Angus, and be able to feed our community, and she's doing great work with that new mission to be able to help us be able to feed our communities and not have to rely on trying to get into the big four packers, which is often impossible and leads to higher costs for the customer and less money and revenue for the farmer and the producer. So thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you Secretary Rollins, for all the work you're doing for us small beef producers. On Wisconsin.
So Joe, he played a long time in the NFL. He's a Hall of Famer. Who is the greatest quarterback you've ever seen?
Oh, that's a tough one. Is anybody listening here? Because Brady and Manning were pretty good, and I'd have a hard time picking between either one of those guys.
And who is the greatest running back you've ever seen?
I never got to see him in person, but Jim Brown or Barry Sanders are my two.
Okay, good. For football fans, got to keep it. That's good. Thank you very much. Please, Jake, thank you very much.
Mr. President, thank you very much for coming to Wisconsin. As we all said, I want to just say, without the American farmers, we as a company would not be able to brew beer. In fact, out of all the thousands of breweries and across America, you supply the most important ingredients here in the USA: barley, malt, wheat, and we use some corn. But thank you all, and really appreciate the time, Mr. President. Thank you much.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you. Ken, please.
First off, Mr. President, it's an honor and a blessing to have you here. We are, there isn't the sound on the roof is a blessing. We American farmers risk a lot and count on God's blessing. And our forefathers in this country understood that. That's what makes us great, is God's blessing. And I thank you for being who you are, the integrity that you hold, doing what you say you're going to do. You make the right decisions for America. They aren't popular. Thank you. And we as farmers have lost, as Secretary Rollins talked, a tremendous amount of our trade. And that's all we need, is we can compete with anybody in the world. We need fair trade.
Yep. We lost a lot during that last administration. We're bringing it back. We're bringing it back. Jamie, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I want to say, as a dairy farmer and a mom, I don't know why it's doing that. Let's go a little bit further back.
Yep.
As a dairy farmer and a mom, I see how important it is for these policies to be put in place, not only for the families that are growing the food, but for the people who are consuming it every day. I was so excited to witness the signing of the Whole Milk Healthy Kids Act. I didn't even know what to think, because in reality, it was common sense to me why we don't have those options for our children in the schools. Whole milk provides essential nutrients that our kids need for bone growth, muscle growth, and brain development. So I was really excited to be part of that. And as our dad always said, drink milk, it does a body good. That still stands true to this day. So thank you, President Trump and Senator Rollins.
Thank you. And Steve?
First of all, thank you for coming to Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, and hearing us out here. Really appreciate that. And as I sit here and represent the farmers of this state and the farmers of America, I think we've all experienced some tough times here in the last 4 or 5 years. And listening to what you guys are saying, I'm very hopeful for some better times coming. And some of the stuff that we see and talk about that really affects us is the monopolization of the inputs. At this point, there's 4 seed and chemical companies in the country that control 78% of that. 3 fertilizers control 90% of the market, and 4 beef companies control 85% of the beef market. That makes it really tough for us when things are good. Our inputs just rise with the commodity prices. So we'd like some help on that. On another note, the big beautiful bill is a real win for us, and we really appreciate what you've done with that. It's lowered our tax rates. It's given us the ability to pass these farms on to the next generation. You strengthen the crop insurance. You know, I think that all that stuff, and another thing that I want to mention is the border deal. We feel really blessed to have the control you put in place on the border. And other than that, I think you've done a great job. I'd like to add one more thing. We're in the pipeline construction business, and I was sharing with Secretary Rollins there that, you know, we were a 8,000 person company under your first administration, and we went down to 12 to 1,500 people now. And it's just starting its way back up, and we're in the middle of negotiations on a big project in Alaska called Glen Farn that I think you're very aware of. And we're in the final stretches of that, so I know that's not farm related, but if there's any help we could get out of you guys for that, I think that's a real big piece for our energy security of this country. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Which we'll take care of it. You all right?